Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast, Absolutely Non-League, the show dedicated to everything from the National League North, National League South, and as always, we are in collaboration with the fantastic NL Full-Time. Oh, I'm not looking forward to this one, but I'm here. I've got to talk about it. I will talk about it. But first and foremost, thank you guys for joining me. I'll start with you, Ben. How are you? How's your Monday been?
I'm probably better than you, if I'm being honest, Sean. But look, hey, to be fair, give yourself some credit for coming on it, because some people would shy away from that after that. But no, I'm doing all right. You know, football's over now for another season for me, so I'm looking forward to a much needed break now. To be honest, but obviously I'll be keeping an eye closely on making sure who bottles it in the playoffs personally. But yeah, I'm all right. I need to ask you how you're feeling right now, or how you're doing right now, because I think I could probably guess.
I'm gutted, but I'm all right. I've had my time dwelling on it the last couple of days, and then I've woke up this Monday. I thought, do you know what? Don't dwell on it. We've had an impressive season. I never thought we would have been in that position anyway. We've got a fantastic set of players, and as much as they've picked us up this season, the fans, we need to do the same now. No negativity, nothing. Just got a real buzz for it now. But I don't know if I'll feel the same on Sunday. But right now, yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Morgan, I'm going to come to you next. How are you?
I am amazing.
I bet you
I'm
are.
very happy. Don't have to deal with the zone anymore. Don't have to get to play big clubs like Port Vale again. Oldham, we're back. Our new friends, our old friends. Josh Stones, hopefully Josh Stones, Mark Kitchen get to go back to Oldham. I'm very happy.
Just do me a favour when you play Oldham. Just make sure you beat them, please. That's the one thing I'm asking of York.
I made friends with them today. I asked the Oldham fans what League Two's like in comparison. I had loads of replies. They're lovely bunch.
I love that. And of course, we are in collaboration with NL Full-Time. We do have Rob joining us very, very soon. But Joe, how are you? And yeah, good for you as well, isn't it, on a football aspect?
You're on mute, Joe.
You're on mute, Joe.
It is until Saturday at least. A good end to the season for Torquay. A little bit unexpected. I didn't expect us to go there and win as comfortably as we did against Tonbridge. But doing well. Rob's no doubt running around the kitchen happy after the news with Aldershot that we'll come on to. But good to be on again. And we got the two winners on the bottom and a bit of counselling session.
I know. It's the only bit of power I get putting myself on the top. But I was actually I can't remember what I was going to say then. Of course, there's some people in the chat as well, some fantastic people in the chat. This message came, was it this morning or was it last night? I don't know. But AFC Fylde champions again. We will get onto that. I just wanted to let everybody know as well. We will obviously be talking about the football from the weekend. You can still send in your match reports, but we will be concentrating a lot on obviously the teams that have gone up, the playoff teams, relegated teams, and we will be previewing as well them playoffs. We have as well Graham. Good evening, everyone. We've got in the chat as well. He's also put, I'm guessing there will be a lot of York fans tonight. Firstly, congratulations on promotion and for a phenomenal season. Secondly, banter is all good, but remember to keep it respectful, please. To be fair, all York fans have been very, very respectful with me. I've actually made a lot of friends that are York fans this season, so I'm hoping that continues.
To be fair, sorry, it's because you're respectful. York fans are very kind of, not like a hunter thing, but like if a fan base comes at us, we will 100% be rude back. If you're nice to us, we'll be nice to you. Dale fans, I think most of you are pretty sound. There's a few weirdos on either side. Like York have had some weirdo fans this weekend. So
same with us.
But 99% of the fan bases have got on really well this season. So you've had no issue because you've been sound.
No, and thanks, Morgan. The only person I've had an issue with is you, but at least we're getting.
Exactly.
I say at least I'm getting rid of your my host first this show. I'm joking. You don't have to leave, by the way.
Maybe.
I might kick you off though. We've got as well. These 2 words are very hard for me to say. Congratulations, Jock. Massive game for us tomorrow. I'm like a kid at Christmas. I bet you are. I bet you are. And a very happy Worthing fan here too. Good evening from the home of the National League South champions. Everyone's so happy. We've got Chris as well. Good evening all. Evening, Chris. Hope you're okay. And he's also said congratulations to Worthing. Bear with me, everyone. Yes, we will come on to this when we get to the National League South. We are going to start with the North first, but I will get through everyone's chat. All right, everyone. Massive shout out to AFC Fylde for winning the National League North title and for beating them lot down the road to it. Oh, Luke's very happy with that. We've got our very own Sam as well. Evening, everybody. Super team we have tonight. And as always, and I'm here as always for Shah moral support. Oh, honestly, thank you so much. But I'm still smiling. It's been a great season. I will come on to it, but it has been a great season. We've got Aled as well. Evening all. We've got evening Sam here to speak up more non-league football knowledge, but of course here for thank you. Don't you worry. I'm all good, everyone. I'm all good. I feel for Shah more than anything. Glad she went on DAZN, fully deserved. Oh, thank you so much for that. Thank you. I was so nervous. I don't know if anyone could tell. I was proper nervous about that. I think it was Natalie Pike. I saw Natalie Pike there and I was like, oh my God. I was more nervous being with her, even though she's lovely, than one of my ex-favourite Dale players, Reece Bennett, defender. I was like, oh wow, surreal. Think that Rochdale celebration, I'll get on to that. I've got a lot to say about that. But I am in agreement as well. Evening, everyone. We've got North Stander as well. Evening, all. Hope you're okay as well, especially making playoffs too. Evening, all of you wonderful people in the chat. Yeah, thank you so much for your support. We do appreciate it. Where's everyone else? Thanks, everyone. But honestly, don't worry. But like I said, I've got a lot to say about it. We will get onto it. Yeah, good win on Saturday. Got a lot to say on that as well, because I saw Matt Ugler tweeted Yeovil fans as well again today. 100% respect. We've got would have liked Merthyr to make playoffs, but sadly it wasn't meant to be, as they did have an uphill battle against Fylde. Very good season for them. I know it's obviously gutting because they've done so well, haven't they? And they were there for so long, but still, I would not have expected them at the start of the season to be in the position that they did. I thought York and Yeovil were friends. I don't think they are anymore. Latest, Manchester United are winning. That's just life, isn't it? That's the rules. Like, it's not going to change anytime soon as much as we want it to. It's probably not. Evening all. Evening. Hope you're okay. I'm thinking you are okay. Very, very more than okay. Joe predicted Rochdale would blow it with too many draws. Yes, as a York fan, I'm buzzing. He was right. He did. This really hurts, this part already. I think 3-up should happen, but I feel for it to be agreed, there needs to be FFP rules for the National League, similar to League 2, and then League 2 clubs might agree. Had to reload the stream as the sound and video was out of sync. I have no idea why, so apologies for that. Let's get onto it. We are the same with away fans. We weren't called the friendly club on the hill for nothing. I'm happy the season is over from a Yeovil fan. You've got as well. Evening all, long time no see, Joe. What a weekend of National League. Lucky to be at Worthing to watch history. Trev, oh hi Trev, hope you're okay. Everybody as well, go and check out his content. Amazing.
Yeah, and Trev was on the NL Full-Time Pod yesterday as our guest, because he was at the Worthing game on the weekend. Managed to see them lift the title. So, yeah, get over and have a listen to that. Trev was good value as always.
Oh, always, isn't it? I always say, similar to yourself, Joe, you're just a sponge of knowledge when it comes to non-league football. I love it. I love it. Evening, guys. Shah, do winning at Wembley will be a better day in the sun. I'm not getting ahead of myself. Trust me. Yeovil fans cheered when Dale scored last minute last week at our game, so he's reacted to that. 2-0 Man United. We'll have a very happy Sam. Yes, he's buzzing on that one. Got some. We've got as well. Yeah, hope everyone is doing great. We've got a lot of chat, so thank you so much, everyone. And we've got Claire as well. Thank you, Claire. Up the day on. We will have to talk some football now, though. So thank you, everybody in the chat. As always, if you do have any match reports, still feel free to send them in. Any news, feel free to send them in. But I did say we will be concentrating a lot of a show on champions, playoffs, and obviously relegation. We are going to start in the north. So, who wants to start first? Joe, I will actually come to you first. In the north, talk to us.
Yeah, I've got to give the top honours to AFC Fylde. Obviously going to Merthyr, not an easy game for their last game to potentially win the title. And they're actually behind twice in the game. But as they've managed to do all season, they keep fighting. Played some really good stuff. They're always a safe bet for goals. Managed to get 4 of them, 2 in the last sort of 10 minutes to win that game. And yeah, Craig Marn back in the National League with Fylde. What a brilliant job he's done there, really, for given that Fylde got relegated last season. I think most people saw Fylde in the past as sort of the Nick Horton show, but I think this year he's done a brilliant job in being able to, put together an actual team at Fylde. It's had certainly more of a team feel about it. And what a job he's done in terms of putting together a very young side. They have got 1 or 2 experienced faces in there, but it's the likes of Luca Thomas, Danny Ormerod, who actually didn't even play yesterday, still injured. But yeah, Luca Thomas, as he's done all season, stepped up with 2 goals to help them on their way. So yeah, AFC Fylde back in the National League. Cracking job for Craig Marn, and he joined us yesterday on the NL Full-Time Pod. He was in considerably better shape than Josh Stones' interview earlier. Nice for Craig Marn to win that. Because it's a tough league to win that. I think we obviously talk about York and Rochdale, but I think Fylde and South Shields have been neck and neck at each other all season. So to go away from home and win on that final day, top plaudits to them.
Ben, I'm just going to come to you next. Obviously, still staying on AFC Fylde. Was you ever in doubt with them, or?
I think given Merthyr's form, in the last sort of couple of months where it's really dipped, you did expect Fylde to do the job. But again, I think you do have to pick them up. The fact they had to come back from behind as well in that game. Merthyr still had a lot to play for. It wasn't a dead rubber for them. And I think Merthyr will probably feel a little bit disappointed. They've been in the top 7 pretty much all season. And, to fall out of it at the last minute, that would have really probably hurt them. But it's still an exceptional first season for them at this level. But yeah, for Fylde, look, I think when they always drop back into this level, it's been a couple of times that they've dropped back into this level. And you always find that there's huge pressure on them because of the backing that they've got. You look at the facilities they've got, they should be at least playing in the National League. And, they've had to do their job. And obviously, look, it does help that they probably would have, had the noise, obviously, that South Shields, were losing against Kidderminster Harry. So it made it a little bit easier for them probably to relax. Because had it obviously been the other way around, it could have been, there could have been a fair few nerves around there. And, I think I watched a couple of bits from the highlights earlier. It's got a cracking 4th goal as well, right on the whistle. That's the perfect way to kickstart, the celebrations of all their players running down the touchline. Brilliant scenes for them. And, fair play to them. They've, again, this is what we're talking about. 100 points should be enough for you to win the league. And to be honest, even for South Shields to have 95 points, they should win the league. But, South Shields, again, it probably won't hurt them as too much because it was already out of their control. So, in some ways, and especially with having a tough game on paper against Kidderminster, so they probably would have been having to prepare for the playoffs. But it's like, again, it's back in their control now, and they're two wins away from promotion. But big credit to Fylde to win 32 of your 46 games is some achievement. So mass credit to Craig Martin's team.
I'm going to come to you with the same, Morgan. Thoughts on AFC Fylde and fully deserved?
Yeah, I think, as Joe said, in terms of like having more of a team feeling, because you always look at Fylde and it's like, oh, well, it's just the Nick Horton show. He's left, gone to Forest Green, and you're wondering kind of what their team's going to look like. 2 players hit 20 this season in Ormerod and Thomas. 4 players hit double figures this year, with Charlie Jolly and Johnny Stabassi getting 11 and 16. Like, it's been a really team effort going forward. They've been terrifying in attack, getting 112 goals this year. In terms of the Merthyr game, Merthyr got 95 goals themselves. It was never going to... They had combined 8 draws between them this year. They both drew 4 games. Like, it was never going to be a dull game. It was always going to be a bit back and forth. I think both teams knew or believed that they could score goals, and obviously they both did. Scoring 2 at home in most weeks is going to win you a game. So Merthyr kind of gave it a good go, but this Fylde team just relentless. Obviously, as Ben said, like, Fylde know that South Shields had to go to 3rd place Kidderminster and win, and obviously they didn't do that. So they were fully aware of what was happening, and they just had to keep the pressure on, and they would have won the title.
Ben, I'm going to come to you next. Anyone here you want to give a mention to?
It's got to be the one right at the top, the African Curzon Ashton game. Because I didn't realise, obviously, you see a 3-3 draw, and you think, oh, that looks a really good game. Obviously, it doesn't work for both sides, but you took the context into it that Alfreton were 3-0 up, coasting towards safety in the division, and to let it slip in the last 25 minutes and conceded the 3rd goal in the 99th minute would have been absolutely heartbreaking for them. And do you know what? But I think, to be honest, the more ones will be more heartbroken, I think, with Curzon Ashton, because they had 2 really good chances to win the game as well. They had a really good save from the goalkeeper, had one cleared off the line in the same moment, and he just thought that was their moment. It would have been like the ultimate great escape had that happened, to do that. But I think Adam Barton, obviously, playing manager, got the 2nd goal as well. He would have taken a lot of, I think, as much as obviously the disappointment, but the fight that their players showed, because it could have been so easy for them to fold in, well, that's it, we're down. But, Alfreton would be massively kicking themselves. And I think you've got to obviously look at the other, like I said, 2 sides, Kings Lynn and Hereford, but obviously in particular Hereford, and you think they've got away with that big time. They have, because obviously they didn't win their game. And Curzon Ashton have actually had to pour them out of trouble. I've never seen a situation before the full-time whistle where both sides are on the ground holding their heads, and all like, almost couldn't believe what had happened. It was quite extraordinary, really. But you got to feel for both Alfreton and Curzon Ashton. Both have reached 50+ points and still wasn't enough for them to stay up. And you look at the South, Bath City, 4th bottom, 43 points, and obviously they've gone down, quite comfortably. So yeah, they would be really hurting from that. But what a game though for the National League. If you're going as a neutral, but for both sets of fans, they've been leaving a massive disappointment. So yeah, that's going to take a bit of time for that one to heal, I think.
And I think it was a bit bittersweet for Craig Martin as well, as he said on the pod, because obviously he was really happy that Fylde obviously won the title, but his first thought after the game was, how did Curzon Ashton get on? Because obviously he used to manage them, and then obviously bittersweet for him in hearing that they'd gone down. But to be 3-0 up at home, with 20 minutes or so left, you almost think, get ready for National League North again. So yeah, they'll be kicking themselves for that.
Chris, pick your timings. That's a bit tight. Come on. Which team, if any, are best placed to bounce back, Alfreton or Curzon?
I think I'd say Alfreton, because I think they get slightly better crowds. I know obviously crowds aren't everything, but Curzon are one of the worst supported teams in that division. And obviously I know they do struggle with geography, because in the Manchester area there's a million clubs you can choose to go watch. So they do struggle with that. But Alfreton have that little bit more of a catchment area, and they've always seemed like they've got a bit of a better setup, whereas Curzon were punching above their weight for quite a while. Craig Martin obviously did a fantastic job there. I think they've had a couple of other managers that have gone on to do bigger, better things after leaving Curzon. So I think it was a matter of time that one of these managerial appointments goes wrong for them. I think Alfreton will, but obviously the 7th tier is difficult to get out of, as always.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll just provide the opposite to that in Curzon. Obviously, I know Morgan obviously says about the geography, the fact that they perhaps don't have the better crowds, but I suppose you could flip that and say that the fact that they have got so many good teams on their doorstep, Rochdale, all the Manchester teams on their doorstep, they can pick up some good players. I think both of them will find it tough in the league below the National League North, because that league is so tough, and there's increasingly a lot of money. Obviously Curzon Ashton have got one of the smallest budgets, and I have to say I've not been overly impressed with Jake Buxton at Alfreton. Since he's come in, he's not really managed to get anything going there. I think both of them will find it tough, but I would probably edge towards Curzon. I think only because when you look at their team as well, there's 4 or 5 players that you think, if they can keep them, then they got the makings of a decent squad. Marcus Posher's been out injured for the last couple of months. He's been a big miss. They've got Brad Holmes up front and Tony Weston. If they can keep either of them or both of them, they're going to have a decent chance of scoring. So I would be inclined to pick with Curzon.
Yeah, I'm leaning more over to Curzon as well.
Yeah, I think I would have probably. I would have probably said Alfreton, to be fair, but I think there's a good point actually from Joe. I think because you've got the amount of clubs around there, they're normally going to be a bit more likely to loan some good young players to sides like that. And like I said, we're talking about crowds, but sometimes I've always found that in taking the 7th tier, crowds don't bring you results. That's the thing. You probably play with a little bit less pressure and a bit more freedom, don't you? And I think their objective will be to try and bounce back, because they've had a decade in this division. Because that's become very well established, been on the cusp of the playoffs a couple of times. So it's not exactly like they've been stringing along for the last 8-9 years waiting for the inevitable. But yeah, I think it is a hard division to get up, because particularly for one of the likes of Hensford or FC United and Manchester won't go up, and again they'll be hinting at the chance of going up as champions next year. So it will be a tough division for them to get out of, for both of them. But again, if they need to, with a lot of relegated sides, you probably want to try and keep a little bit of a core if you can, but you need to obviously have a little bit of a clear out as well, because obviously there's a reason why they're down at the bottom, is because it simply doesn't work. So we'll see how we get on, but I would say Curzon, the more likely.
They are going to be competing with Bury as well next year, who obviously just got promoted from the 8th tier into the Northern Premier League. So that Northern Premier League next year is going to be horrible.
100%.
It's just going to be teams kicking each other for a full season. So it's not going to be easy for either Curzon or Alfreton to get out of that.
Just before we move on as well. Hi, Rob. How are you?
Oh, hi, guys. You caught me out there. I thought, you'll probably bring me in after the North. I was just going to enjoy watching for a minute.
Oh, no, don't worry. You can still watch. You're still more than welcome to watch. Morgan, I am going to come to you next. Any on here that you want to give a mention to? We've obviously spoke about Fylde. We've spoke about Curzon, Ashton and Alfreton. Is there any others that you want to give a mention to?
I think there's a lot that just needs to be mentioned. I know we touched upon the bottom, but it's the fact that everyone else drew. Bedford got a draw. Peterborough and Hereford drew. It was teams kind of getting away with it. Obviously, knowing that, and Kings Lynn got the draw with Chester, which ended up helping Chester, to be honest, because they were in that playoff race. And they've now got the game against Macclesfield this week. But I just think there has to be something slightly weird of everyone needing a result to go their way. Everyone gets a point, and it's just not enough, and ends up leaving one of the best photos I think we'll see all season, with Alfreton and Curzon, both sets of players on the pitch, devastated about the relegation.
Any others on here that anybody does want to touch on from the North? Or any teams? If you want to talk about any of the teams in their season.
Did you mention Bedford staying up yet?
Yeah, I was just going to come on to them. Obviously, Lee Bircham bowing out as Bedford manager. Did it in the way that we kind of expect Lee Bircham to do it. His usual comical self. Listening to his interview at the end, saying it's obviously a really sad day for him, and even worse for him, the fact that one of his favourites, Sam Brown, scored. He said if anybody was going to score the final goal, I just wish it couldn't have been him. So humour right until the end with Bert. But yeah, what a job he's done. And they've got one hell of a job, I think, to try and find someone to to take over from him, and potentially with the Bedford derby next year in the National League North. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
I keep forgetting that both grounds are literally right next to each other, aren't they? So I think like that I don't think it's any closer than that, does it? So I'd be, I hope Real Bedford come up because that'd be a cracker next year for sure.
Anybody else got any thoughts on any of the other games?
The only one I'll add on, I suppose I have to eat a slice of humble pie and say well done to Hereford.
Yes. I think we all do.
Oh yeah, obviously when Aaron Downs went in there, I obviously had my views on Aaron with his time at Torquay. Someone that said to me himself that he was a fantastic coach, and in fairness, he's proven it over the last 3 or 4 months with Hereford. So, well done to him for keeping them up. Obviously Harry Pell back there, a bit of a legend at Hereford. So, look like it's one for the boys there. It seems like it's a really happy camp, and obviously they had to come from behind as well to get a draw at home against Peterborough Sports to keep themselves in the National League North. So well done to them.
I was going to say probably a little bit of a, commiseration really to Darlington, really, because I think for a long time I thought they were going to be in the top 7, to be honest. They've just let it slip away from them at the last, to be honest, which I know they'll be extremely disappointed. I mean, given the fact they've been up there, again, like Murph, have been up there pretty much all season and, just slipped out at the last. So, yeah, massive disappointment for, for Steve Watson and that. But it's a tough division. But I think this is where you've got to give the likes of Chester credit. Again, who've just kind of absolutely nowhere in this second half of the season when they're probably looking at a mid-table finish, gone into really good form. And yes, okay, they've had to scrape a 0-0 draw against, a side near the bottom, but the fact they're in that top 7, and again, as a 7th place side, they're under obviously that least amount of pressure in comparison to South Shields and Kidderminster, who would be under, more pressure really to go up from as playoff winners. So yeah, I think Chester should have but again, it could be the dark horse. We get talking about Macclesfield. I think Chester, when you're in some good form, can help really, a lot in the playoffs for them. So we'll see if they can do that in the, in their eliminator game.
Yeah, Darlington, I was just checking their form. 4 wins in the last 13 from the start of March. They lost on the 3rd of March, and after that, 4 wins in 13. It's just I don't know if there was some bad injuries or what, but they just fell into some really, really bad form and just kept slipping and slipping and slipping. So, as you said, Darlington were looking pretty nailed on for a 4th or 5th place finish. Comes to it, and they ended up several points outside, and it's like, well, that's just, they looked really good for a point, and it just didn't go well at the end of the season.
I just want to address as well, I know there's a lot of comments in the chat about Rochdale and York. I'm not ignoring them. I will come on to them a little bit later when we're talking National League, so please do not think I am ignoring any of those comments. We will have a quick look at the table, and then what we're going to do is just obviously speak a little bit about the playoff games and our thoughts on those. So I will read the final league table, National League North, this season. So we do have in yellow at the top, champions and promoted. We do have AFC Fylde on 100 points. Below them in second, they have qualified for the semi-final of the playoffs as well. So that is what SF is for. We've not got a post office on them ones. We've got an SF. So yeah, South Shields on 95 points in second. Kidderminster a third, also reaching a semi-final and 87 points. And then playoffs and qualified, which some of them do take place tomorrow and Wednesday. We do have Macclesfield. They finished in 4th place on 79 points. Buxton in 5th place on 73 points. Scarborough in 6th place on 73 points. And then Chester, the final playoff spot, also on 73 points. So very, very close there. And then in the relegation zone, obviously, we did mention 21st, Curzon Ashton, 52 points. Alfreton Town, 22nd on 50 points. Then we have Peterborough Sports, 23rd on 39 points. And then Leamington, bottom of the National League North on 29 points.
It just goes to show, looking at that table, how poor Leamington have been. The fact that the difference between Hereford and Buxton between 20th and 5th is actually less than, or is
Yeah.
virtually the same as Hereford in 20th and Leamington in 24th. Crazy season for Leamington.
I'm so sorry as well. I've completely forgot to read out Chris's match report. So I'm going to quickly do that now. I do apologise, Chris. He's put obviously Spennymoor Marine. Marine at home, final game of the season, and it ended a draw. Dan Jones scored on the 17th minute, header to give the Moors the lead. Love when a defender scores, but Marine drew level on the 88th minute after a mistake by a Moors defender and James Potter scoring the equaliser for it to end 1-1. So I do apologise for that, Chris. I am very, very sorry about that. We are going to talk playoffs, though. So tomorrow at 7:45, it is Buxton versus Scarborough. Any thoughts on this one? Joe, I'll come to you first. Any thoughts on this, and what's your predictions for this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game because I think Scarborough,
Yes.
it kind of favours, given that they've played away from home all season. So the fact that they've got another home or away game shouldn't be too much of a problem for them. I think Buxton are probably the favourites, obviously just about finished the higher of the two, given their goal difference, and have ended the season really well in good form, scoring a lot of goals, obviously 4 on the final day as well. And yeah, I just think Buxton have gone into it with perhaps the better momentum of the two. Obviously, been very, very close over the course of 46 games, but I think Buxton may just have that extra bit of quality at the top end of the pitch. I think with Scarborough, you've obviously got Rio Deal, Rio Allen on the wing, who, if they can get him into the game, they've got a real chance because he's been probably their player of the season. But I think Buxton will just have that upper hand tomorrow.
Morgan, I'll come to you next.
I want to give Scarborough a lot of credit because they've ended the season really, really well. They've lost 1 in the last, I think it was 11, I've just counted, coming into this. Like, Scarborough have been on really good form, but that 1 loss is against Buxton. And you look at the head-to-head, and they've lost both the games to Buxton this year, I think it is. Actually, I'm just going to double-check.
It's 1 win apiece, I think it is.
1 win apiece, with Buxton getting the 1 most recently. So I want to give Scarborough the credit, and they've got Jonathan Greening and Michael Ingham there, who very, very experienced football heads. So I think Scarborough have a very good chance. I don't know how much of a psychological thing it will play on that they lost to Buxton on the 11th of April, so only a couple of weeks ago. I think Scarborough will get their revenge. Yeah, you know what? It'll be nice. There's a Scarborough fan in the chat. It'll be nice to Scarborough for once. Scarborough to sneak it.
Ben, I'm going to come to you next. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think I'm a bit like what Morgan just said about psychological advantage. I mean, I'm a big believer of psychological advantage, particularly when it's happened so recently. Like, say, we're only 2 weeks ago that Buxton were playing Scarborough home and, saw out a 2-0 victory. So, yeah, it is a difficult one to predict, I think, because, when both sides finish the same amount of points, obviously goal difference being the only thing that separates it, you can obviously tell there's no clear gap between, the teams that in comparison to if they were playing a South Shields or a Kidderminster Harriers. So, yeah, I think Buxton obviously will go into it maybe just slightly more confident, but I really wouldn't rule out Jonathan Green and Scarborough. I think they've been excellent this season and what they've achieved. I think a lot of us didn't have them. I think a few of us didn't have them around near the players. I think I put them near towards the bottom. I did, if I'm not mistaken. So I think, they've excelled on expectations. And I think that the pressure will be more on Buxton as a full-time side, in this division. I think it is going to be a really tough one for them. But I think on the 3G pitch, you'd think Buxton would edge it. But I think just because I'm always a big fan of an underdog in a playoff, and I think Scarborough might do it. I think possibly after extra time. I think it'll go extra time, but I think they'll do it.
Rob, I'm going to come to you next, and I'm going to swap me and you because I feel rude putting the comments over your face.
You're more than welcome. I'm pretty sure most people will agree you've got a prettier face than me, Sean. But you can't match the beard, I'm afraid. So.
No, I can't. I'm trying. I'm joking, by the way. I've not got to that stage yet.
No strong thoughts for me. I haven't seen either Buxton or Scarborough play, but I'll have a go. And all these predictions are difficult because in one-off games, anything can happen, like a 10th minute red card or something, or a goal completely against the run of play, and goals change games. But I think, given they're at home, given they're their full-time side, given that they've all done well at home recently and they've beaten Scarborough recently, I'll go with Buxton, probably a 2-1 tight game, perhaps.
And then obviously we do have Wednesdays. So it's Macclesfield against Chester. Looking forward to this one, to be honest. Morgan, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Macclesfield against Chester. And bear with me a second, sorry.
Okay. I'm going to go Chester, just because of their recent form. They've conceded twice in the last 6. They've been on excellent form. They beat Macclesfield on Easter Monday, on Monday the 6th. And so I think they're, obviously, I know I've just said the opposite logic for Scarborough Buxton, but I think Chester conceding twice in the last 6, whereas Macclesfield's form hasn't been as good recently. I think Chester are just going to carry it through to this game and get through to the semi-finals. Obviously, after that, it's a completely different ball game. But I think Chester do the job against Macclesfield.
Yeah, I think it's a tight one again. But I think I'm always going to probably back Macclesfield. I think they've just been relentless, particularly at home. Again, they'll have probably a sellout crowd. Again, to really back them. Obviously, they've really got behind the team. This year, obviously, with their exploits in the cup. The only thing I would say is, obviously, it being an extra game, and again, people have to remember they're a part-time side. Will they just run out of steam maybe a little bit in these sort of games? Because obviously, it's not just physically; it's also mentally as well. Will it catch them out? But I think again, this probably will be a scenario where crowds will play a big part, and if they can get behind them, and because it's a fairly localish game for both sides as well, there's a lot riding on it. And I think again, Chester will go into it probably under no pressure, thinking that Macclesfield will be the favourites. But I think just given the fact that how good Macclesfield have been this year, and they obviously they've proven themselves they can rise, for the big occasions, and they've had a lot of big games at the club in recent years. And I fully expect them to do the job against Chester. I'll probably go for a 2-0, but I would say Chester will give them at least a good go. I would have thought so. Yeah, we'll see how it happens. Joe, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably lean towards Macclesfield. Certainly this season have shown in those one-off games, obviously good run in the cup, and shown that on their day they can get, they can beat anybody at home. Obviously, you've got a bit of a subplot in this one that, as fate works out, that Macclesfield manager John Rooney is playing against his former team that he made over 100 appearances for, and an opportunity for him to stop his old team from getting promoted. So I'm sure he'll have that in the back of his mind. But yeah, I think when you look at the two squads, Macclesfield got lots of experience, albeit at this level, probably for the first time after their promotion. Chester have been in the playoffs before, so that may count for something. And obviously, Chester are managed now by a player that has got promoted out of non-league in the playoffs, in Conor Rawlinson. So, there's experience on both teams, but you would imagine favour Macclesfield over the season. They've been the higher of the two. They've got that home advantage, and they're obviously a full-time side. I would favour Macclesfield, but I think it'll be a really close game. I think that's probably one thing that stands out for me is that all the National League North playoffs this season, I think they're just very evenly matched. I don't think there's a great deal between any of the 6 teams in there on their day. So it'd be interesting to see, but I would probably back Macclesfield to pick that one.
I mean, where would you sit with this, Rob? Are you sort of sitting on the fence a little bit with it, or are you leaning more towards a clear winner?
No, I think one point, it's difficult going last because you guys have all made some very good points. The one point that I would make that hasn't come up yet is I wouldn't make any notice of Macclesfield's recent form. Look at the table. They're 8 points behind Kidderminster and they're 6 ahead of Buxton. They've known for weeks where they were going to finish, and they would have been all geared up with their team selections for this. This is knockout football. This is one-off football. That's what they've proven they're good at. They've knocked out the FA Cup winners, Crystal Palace, at home this year. But the football script writers have done it again with this one. This is a Cheshire derby.
Yeah.
And we all know, and we always all say, don't we, that form, good or bad, goes out the window in the derby. I hope it's an absolutely brilliant game. I have a feeling it will be high scoring, but I am going to stick with Macclesfield to come through that. Yeah.
What are you thinking, Char?
So sorry about that. I'm going to go with Macclesfield, if I'm being quite honest. Chester, I think, have done really, really good this season. I really do like Chester, but I just think the quality they've got, obviously, as Rob was saying, with the FA Cup and things like that, and I just feel like they've been on quite a good run, haven't they, recently? Obviously, Macclesfield getting up to 4th place. So, yeah, Macclesfield, I'm going to go for. Macclesfield. And then, obviously, I'm so sorry, by the way, everyone. I'm so out of sync now to dash off quickly. Obviously, then we do have the games at the weekend. So, South Shields, who do they play now if they get... Obviously, which ones do they play? I'm so out of sync.
Ooh,
Completely lost my train of thought.
Second get 5th or 6th. Third
Yes.
get 4th or 7th.
So, it's South Shields versus either Buxton or Scarborough.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah, that's right. No, actually, because in the south, the 3rd place team,
Yeah,
Torquay,
that's why I was confused, yeah.
Oh, right, I'm sorry.
I think
Morgan.
South Shields have got Macclesfield or Chester.
Yeah,
With Kidderminster against Buxton or Scarborough.
That's it. Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, as I said, I think it's going to be close. I think the obvious follow is probably to say South Shields win it. But I don't know why, I just got a sneaky feeling for Kidderminster. I think sometimes, I always say about sometimes storylines that potentially Adam Murray could win promotion this season in the year that his own team got relegated from the same step. Amazing how things work out like that sometimes. But yeah, obviously the pressure's on South Shields, isn't it?
Joe, just following the logic of the south, sorry to interrupt, guys. Where your team Torquay have finished 3rd, and they are playing the winners of 4th against 5th, aren't they? Dorking against Hemel. So I think that says that Kidderminster will be playing Buxton or Scarborough, and South Shields will be playing Macclesfield or Chester.
I think you might be right in that. Yeah, Torquay obviously finished 3rd, as we'll come on to. Dorking finished 4th, Maidenhead finished 7th. So. Yeah,
it's confusing, isn't it?
Honestly, I'm proper out of sync now. I'm proper out of sync since I had to dash off.
Yeah, because
you know what the issue is here, Shah. What we got to do is what everybody in football says you got to do: one game at a time. We can't think about the second game.
The only thing is one game at a time, but it's Saturday, Sunday, isn't it? So we've not got any other time to talk about it apart from when it's done.
True. We should perhaps go with a different question. Does anybody feel that whoever progresses in the week can go to South Shields or Kidderminster and win? There we go.
I'm going to be really boring and say no. I think it's going to be South Shields Kidderminster final, which isn't how the playoffs work. We know the playoffs don't work like that, but those two have been really good. Kidderminster on really good form. South Shields getting 95 points. You'd like to think that the playoffs are going to do something funny, but I just can't see it this season. In the north, anyway.
Yeah, I think I would go probably with that as well. But there is a potential. It could be for me probably South Shields or South Shields Macclesfield final. I feel like there is that potential. Kidderminster have had a lot of obviously playoff heartache as well in recent times where they've just missed out. But again, obviously look, they won a Brackley Cup not that long ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So, and again, I think as Joe alluded to with Adam Murray, I think it's, again, for him personally, how he, learns from the experience of being in playoffs last year, obviously with, not touching it, but obviously we beat Eastbourne in playoffs last year in last minute. And it's how, he gets into those situations again and think, right, okay, what did we do wrong last time, as a management team, and how do we get it right this time? Because obviously it is a different proposition. The National North is a different breed to the National South in terms of style of play and the type of players. We always say the North is better than the South in terms of the caliber of players, that play in that division. But I really do think that it is pretty much South Shields to lose. I think, look, if you finish with 95 points, again, everyone will be looking at them to see if they fall. But then again, same with the Kidderminster. But I just feel with South Shields, at home, big crowd behind them. Again, not playing in the National League is probably feel like there's a bit of history to be written. But I think, like I say, it's a really tough one. Until obviously, like I said, we probably talk about this next week. It could be a completely different story. But I don't see anyone getting past South Shields.
We are going to move on to the South now. Oh, there we go. It was completely lost it then. Here we go in the chat. South Shields play Buxton and Scarborough in the semi-final playoffs. We've got... Right, moving on to the South. I'm going to come to you first, Ben, on the South. We won't talk Maidstone just yet.
Yeah, that's fun.
But any on here that you do want to obviously talk about?
Well, I mean, there's obvious ones to talk about, to be honest, but I'm just trying to think, maybe not trying to hint straight at that. I think, to be honest, actually, I'll start with Hemel Hempstead, actually. In the point they needed, obviously, it could have gone obviously the other way, but, it was a fantastic achievement for them to reach the playoffs. Lee Allison's first full season in charge of the Tudors. I think we've said on this podcast so many times about how much he's really brought the spirit back there, and that they've become such a tough nut to crack. Again, obviously, I don't know whether their minds might have been a little bit elsewhere to see how other results were going, but they've got the point they needed. And they've got obviously an eliminator game to look forward to. I think it's against is it Dorking? Oh no, not Dorking. It's Maidenhead, isn't it? Against Western-super-Mare. Which again will be really tough. Obviously, we'll talk about it in a minute. But yeah, I think Lee Allison, I heard him, his post-match, team talk with his players on the pitch afterwards and saying how much of the credit they are to beat, to beat some of the big full-time teams in this division, with much more resources than they've got. I think we always alluded to in pre-season that they were going to be one of the dark horses in the division. I think the signings they were making early on, they set the marker down and they followed through with it. And there would have been a period where they might have thought they're not going to get into the top 7, having lost Miller Matthews-Lewis early in the season. But I think they've just kept plugging away, been chipping away at getting results. And at home, I would fully back them to win that playoff eliminator. But yeah, I think they've got to be probably one of the stories of the season, I think, so far, given their resource in comparison to a lot of teams in that top 7. So massive credit to Lee Allison and his coaching staff.
Rob, I'm going to come to you.
Okay, I'm going to go Western-super-Mare and Dorking. It ended 1-1, but Joe and I were doing some calculations at the weekend, and I don't know if people realise how fine a margin this was here. For Western-super-Mare, of course, if they'd have won, they'd have finished higher up in the playoffs. And but for Dorking, who done their usual, they got themselves ahead, but they couldn't hold on. They by all accounts, had more chances, had more possession, etc., but couldn't get the actual win. But I think there was significant danger, Joe. We confirmed. A lot of people didn't realise it, that if Western-super-Mare had actually won that game, if they'd found a late winner, then Dorking would have been on the same number of points as some of those other teams that were involved in the goal difference of who went in and who went out. And so it was actually quite a key point, I think, in the end for Dorking to make sure that they at least got a home tie in the playoffs. Regulars that watch this will know that, like a lot of people, I've got a lot of love for Dorking, and I do try and get to watch them when I can. And I'm really gutted because I would have liked to have gone to their playoff home semi-final on Wednesday. But all the games that I either will be or could have gone to are all happening on Wednesday. One was that Real Bedford game just 12 miles away from me. Obviously, another one's the Dorking game. And I've already committed to go to Boreham Wood. But I'm so frustrated. I don't know as much can be do about it. But so many games are happening on the same days, and it's quite difficult to stay across all of them. For people, especially for people like ourselves who immerse ourselves in the National League, and we are genuinely interested in all the different games. But coming back to this one, Frankie Vincent put Dorking ahead, but not too long. It was in the first half, and then Western-super-Mare got straight back into it after the break. I think we have to take our cap off to Western-super-Mare, don't we? Last year they were like this for a long time, but they eventually fell away and just missed out. But they didn't this year. And if it's okay to do so, I wanted to throw a question either to Joe or to Ben. Why do you think Weston-super-Mare, especially having gone through a change of manager early in the season, have been able to do it this year? Is it that experience of having been through it all last year?
Yeah, I think potentially that. I think that they've got more of a presence up front this year in Louis Britton. So when they're perhaps not playing that well, they've got that bit more at the top end of the pitch that they can manage games, go a little bit more direct. I think under Scott Bartlett, when they came up into the National League South, their first thought was, let's get the ball down and play. But I think since Scott Rogers has sort of taken it on, and we did see signs of it under Bartlett, they've been a little bit more pragmatic. When they've got time to play, they do, but when they need to, they can go longer now because they've got Britain. So, yeah, they've managed the games fairly well. I mean, I think they are a really canny team with Avery, the partnership of Sam Avery and Emlyn Lewis at the back. They don't give a great deal away. Obviously, you'd have seen them earlier this season, Rob, when Aldershot went there. They're a really difficult side to play against. They don't give a great deal away. Defensively, really strong. And yeah, I think just the benefit of perhaps having another year at the level and all improving. And obviously, they've now got a real killer in Louis Britton up front, who's proved the difference for them a number of times.
I think I put on record as well that they're the best side that we've played this season. When we went up to their place in September, they were just so ruthless in everything they did. Like say, and you mentioned obviously they don't give a lot away. They gave us absolutely nothing that night. Albeit we had an off night, but Weston, like I said, was just so good. And when Louis Britton was on it, he was such a hard man to stop. And I came away from that game thinking that a lot of National League clubs or even clubs in League Two have got to be looking at him because he's just like a man mountain. That can do both sides of the game. That's the thing. He really is. A proper number 9, I think, and he'll be key for them. In the playoffs, and again they probably use that experience of last year. Just missing out. I mean, we're positive by about 3 or 4 points, and they've managed to sneak it away. And obviously, look, they've had a lot of games to play as well. To be fair, in a short space of time, their fixture backlog's been a bit hit and miss for them, but they've stuck in there. They've got the job when it needs to, and everyone's sort of written them off a little bit. No one's really spoken about them, to be honest, because it's all been about can Torquay do it, can Hornchurch do it, but West have just stuck in there, and I think have deservedly, for me, got a spot in that top 7 this year. So for Scott Rogers to continue what Scott Bartlett started at the beginning of the season is a huge testament to him as a manager coming in into a side like that who again won't have those same resources that some of the other clubs higher up in the division will have, but they've got a team spirit down there. And they've got a very good fan base that will really back their team, and you wouldn't put it past them to go and knock Hemel out this week. But it will be a tough task for them. But I would say that they've got just as much as every chance as anyone else in those eliminator games.
Morgan, I'm going to come to you now, but I'm going to ask you the question because obviously we did see Worthing win the league. Someone you're very familiar with, obviously Hinshaw Wood. What's your thoughts on obviously Worthing, and are you happy he's obviously got it over the line for them?
I'm going to be honest. I have to eat quite a lot of humble pie because at the start of the year when they went through that really, really bad patch in January, I was like, he doesn't have it. He didn't get us promoted. He's not going to do it with Worthing. He's clearly learned a lesson, and he's done a fantastic job since turning it around. When they went through a fantastic period about November time, couldn't stop scoring, were battering everyone, and everyone was thinking they're going to run away with it. Then January, it fell apart a little bit. I was thinking he's bottled it. He's done what he usually does and what he did at York. He's done a fantastic job. Adam Hinchwood has done an absolutely fantastic job to turn it around and deserves a lot of credit from everyone for being able to turn it around when that title race is so tight with how good Dorking are and how good their squad is. Yes, they've dealt with injuries this year, but there's been times when you've looked at their squad and they've got 2 or 3 strikers on the bench that would start for anyone else in the league. Like that Dorking team's really good. And the National League South playoff picture is always really tight. Obviously, we saw it last year and then this year it's been really, really tight. So I think he's done a really good job to navigate all of that, come through in some really big games and get it over the line. And I just think he deserves a lot of credit. So I'm really happy for him to get it done, and it'd be interesting to see kind of how Worthing adapt to their first season in the top tier of non-league football, because they've spent a long time. I think I saw a tweet, they spent 48 years in the Isthmian Premier League. Like they've done the hard yards to get to this point, and next year should be almost a bit of a party for them, because especially if Crawley come down, and like there's going to be some nice local games for them in the National League next year. Obviously, Aldershot Rob, not too far. So yeah, I think they deserve a lot of credit for being able to turn it around and navigate through what was a really, really tough patch and get themselves up into the National League for the first time.
4,002, I think, was the crowd there as well. They're going to hold their own. They're so due. They're so due that after missing out in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know anyone who's got a bad word to say about Worthing. And miraculously, they've been filming a documentary. They got their happy ending. That should be a great watch.
Yeah, I think like that's obviously the main man. Obviously, we've got to speak about is George Dow for me, because what he's done, from the moment he walked into that club when they were in big financial trouble, they didn't think they were still going to have a club, and he saved the club. And he's not just done that; he's put them on, a brand new flight, towards top tier of non-league football for the first time in their history. And it is an unbelievable achievement. And look, okay, yeah, we can talk about the fact they have spent a lot of money to try and get there. They've got very good backing there. People have to remember that. But, Hinchelwood, again, like I say, would have been under the pressure that he's been under for the last couple of years. Obviously, like Morgan has alluded to, he's not got it over the line. But I'll be totally honest, before a ball was even kicked inside that, I knew full well they were going to win the game. So I never had any doubt in their mind that FC would stop them. I think just if it'd been away from home, it might have been, I might have been sitting on the fence a little bit more. But at home, they've lost one game at home this season. There was no way on that last day of the season with that crowd behind it that they were not going to take full advantage of it, and they fully deserved the win in the end. I watched the highlights. Razak Coleman McGrath, I think, who's been probably one of the most outstanding wingers in the division this year. He's scored a blinding second goal to seal it off for them. And again, I'm pleased for him because he's come through the ranks, of Isthmian League football in the last couple of years. A bit of time with us as well, a bit of time with Aveley. But now I think he's been able to show this year what he can really do in this division. So, again, whether he'll get the crack of the National League next season, I'm sure he probably will. But yeah, I think it is their moment. They've fully deserved the moment. Well, congratulations to them, because they've been a play of heartbreak for the last 3 seasons, and they've needed this to get over the line. And what a way to do it for them, in front of their home crowd. So yeah, well done to George Dow and everyone down at Worthing.
Joe Cook's strike wasn't a bad one either, was it?
I wasn't a bad one either. Actually, yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, there were a couple of absolute bangers. But the flip side of this, and a horrible fixture list for them, a horrible last game to try and get the point or points they needed. But for Ebbsfleet, in the cold light of day, their budget was geared up to be playoffs minimum, and they haven't made it. So I think, funnily enough, that comment there from non-league football writing.
That's Trev.
Josh Wright under pressure. That is Trev. Hi, Trev.
Yeah.
How you doing? Thanks for coming on our pod yesterday. Yeah, I mean that. Well, I'll throw to you on it, Joe, if that's all right. But I think we should talk about Josh Wright. Is he under pressure? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if a manager in this league can lose their job sitting third, having just won Manager of the Month, then yeah, I think definitely under pressure. You would have said it before a ball was kicked that they should have got top 7. And, I think over the 46 games, they should have got in there. I mean, the number of late goals they conceded, they're a little bit like Ben's Maidstone, the number of late goals they conceded. At one point, it was a case of they should be winning the league because I think it was like 4 games on the bounce where they were winning until the 90th minute and drew. So any one of those and they'd have got in it. So yeah, he's definitely under pressure. I would put the caveat with that he has obviously brought in quite a few players in the summer, and you would imagine that you look at the likes of Dorkin, who obviously were already there, the likes of Torquay that went so close last year. For Ebbsfleet, it's almost like their first crack at the whip to try and get back up. So they'll be better next year, no doubt. But yeah, I think they will be disappointed to to miss out on the playoffs. Nothing wrong with finishing below Maidstone. To miss out on the top 7, they'll be disappointed. But I think, as Ben alluded to, their away record this year has been pretty poor. Ebbsfleet. I think I used a stat on our pod, Rob, that out of all the teams in the top half, they've only won 3 games away from home, or 3 or 4 games away from home against the top half. So, yeah, of all the games you wanted on the final day, Worthing wasn't one of them. But yeah, they've got to improve that if they're going to get in there, because you can't have that poor away record if you're going to get into at least the top 7.
Yeah, they are a hard crowd to please, Ebbsfleet, really, because they see themselves as coming back down to this division as almost a massive downgrade for them. They keep obviously allude to the fact they're a full-time team in this division. They're meant to be doing everything professionally, which, again, like they do. But at the same time, they've thrown away, like I say, so many games. And I think Josh Wright, listening to his post-match interview, obviously there's an element of disappointment. The fact they've been pretty much that top 7 all season. Like I said, they even had an outside chance for the title at one point. But I just feel like, pressure's got to mean, I can only judge, obviously, the games that we played them, and I really didn't think they were that special, to be honest. I think they have got some good individual players, don't get me wrong. They have got players that have been and done it at this level, but I think sometimes it was a case of almost they were like a team of individuals, really. It never seemed like a proper team, that would back each other, to the hills. And maybe that's what's cost them, potentially. A lot of Ebbsfleet fans will be able to tell us more for sure, but I think, when you get Worthing last game of the season away from home and they've got a win to win the league, I think, to be honest, they would have been preying on us to lose last week, because they probably would have been on the beaches, and just enjoying the day. So it obviously hasn't worked in their favour, but they've finished outside like us, they deserve to finish outside because they've let so many silly points, slip away, at key moments in the game. And there will be huge pressure, and I think a lot of the fans, what probably will find that hard to accept, knowing that he's still probably going to be there next year as well, because it's pretty much, there's a big divide between supporters wanting him out and wanting him to stay. So yeah, I'll be interested to have Damien Irvine and the board of directors at FD approach it, because they can't afford to not go up again next year with the amount of money that goes in there. So they've got a big job in their hands in the summer.
I think a lot of the pressure is fan pressure, because when they came down last year, I think they went through 3 managers, and Josh Wright was the 3rd of them. And he finally brought some level of togetherness to that club. They were long gone by the time he came in. Like, they were never staying up, but he brought some level of togetherness, and you're thinking they can come down to the National League South, regroup, and have a really good go at it. Obviously, we spoke about the budget, and you kind of knew they were going to have a good go at it. In my pre-season predictions, I've just checked, I had them 2nd. I think there's a lot of fan expectation of they're going to do really well in this league. After how bad their National League campaign was, where they came down without really putting up any fight, they came down and thinking they should be competing. To miss out on the playoffs completely, there is going to be a loud section of that fan base. I don't know whether it's going to be a loud minority or not, or it's going to be a majority of their fans, but there's going to be a loud section of their fan base calling for Josh Wright's head, because they will come into this league thinking we're finishing top 3. Like, yeah, it's tough to win it, but they'll have expectations of a playoff semi-final minimum. So to completely miss out I just don't think that they're going to have a very interesting summer, and there's going to be some big decisions made, because I don't think they're going to be able to keep all fans happy no matter what they do, whether he stays or goes.
We've got Trev, spot on, Morgan.
Cheers, Trev.
Don't boost his ego anymore, Trev. Joe, I am going to come to you next. Before we talk Torquay, is there any on here that you want to give a mention to?
Oh, yeah, I'll go for Farnborough. Obviously, I think they've managed to stay up fairly comfortably in the end. Yeah. I think you've got to give quite a lot of credit to Spencer Day for the way that he's managed to keep them up. He's made a couple of really smart mid-season additions there. A couple of players unknown from Reading. Boyd Beecroft, who's been absolutely excellent. Probably one of the better players that have come to play more this year. And a player in Hakeem Sander, who has been certainly their player of the season. And I'd be amazed if we don't see him again in the National League South next year. I'd imagine there'll be teams higher that looking to try and get him. So potentially a really good way for him to bow out. Courtney Senior as well with 2 goals. And to go to beat an AFC Tottenham side who have not lost a lot of games at home. Torquay's manager, every interview, always makes a point of saying they've only lost 8 games at home in 4 years. To lose at home in that fashion was certainly a surprise. And in what was Scott Rendell's first game in charge as permanent manager, not the start that he would have hoped for. Obviously, I think they'll be okay with Scotty next year. I think he's got that experience. He knows the squad, and I think they probably respect him. And he's got some really good contacts, and they've got some really good support at Tottenham from the board. But not the way that they would have wanted to end the season in what has been a really good first year for them, I think. To lose their manager midway through the season, to stay up as comfortably as they have done in mid-table, I think they'll be quite pleased.
It's really strange that some of the results we get in the division. You think the week before Farnborough lost 6-1 at home to Tunbridge, and then they go and win 6-1 away from home against Tottenham. It's like when, was it Eastbourne, when they lost 7-0 to Torquay, and then the week after they go and beat Hampton 6-0. He's like, you sometimes can't ride them for things like that. But I think that would have definitely given Spencer Day a little bit of a sign of relief almost of getting a result like that at Tottenham. Like Joe said, they're a really good side, Tottenham at home. I'd say 8 games in 4 years. Bear in mind, we're one of them that beat them up their place, so I will take that as a compliment. So, but yeah, great into the season for them. But a lot of work to be done for them over the summer because they've fallen quite short of where their standards, I think, should be for them as a club.
And just before we talk about your team, guys, we do have a match report in the chat, and I know a certain somebody, even though it wasn't the right Scotty. We do have some news on a Scotty Davis, which we will come to in a second, but we do have a match report from Steve. So he has put Dagenham at home. At least we won Scotty's last game for us. I wish him every success for the future. Hopefully the new manager can come in and show us up at the back. What are we all thinking about Scotty Davis going to Aldershot? I'll come to you first, Rob, because obviously he's come to you. We mentioned him last week. Ben wanted him. You wanted him. You've got the man. What are your thoughts on it, Rob?
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. I'm excited for Scotty. I'm excited for the club. I was running a bit late tonight, but I just managed to get eyes on his interviews, saying goodbye to Slough and saying hello to Aldershot. I think for the moment, just to look at it from the Slough point of view, came in as a player, played close to 300 games for them. He's been in charge for the last 190 or so. We've talked about Scotty so many times. Just the fact that he plays and manages was the only player at this level doing so once Gashi stopped. And he's done a really, really good job at Slough. The lazy eye looks and says, well, why him? They finished 10th, 16th and 16th. Well, take a look at their infrastructure, take a look at their budget, and then you'll see that that's a hell of a job keeping them in that division each year. He's also had some cracking, cup games, cup runs this year, second round of the FA Cup. Not this season, but last season, over a period, they went a whole calendar year without losing at home as well. He's got all the right credentials. He's given 8 years of service to Slough as a manager and as a player manager. And I think he's earned the opportunity. And I think he can leave there with his head held high. I don't want to do too much of it from the Aldershot angle, but it's a perfect fit. He's going to have to work with a tight budget, which he's used to doing. He's going to have to change around some momentum. And Aldershot have been stuck in a bit of a rut for a few seasons. They've always been that side that's had plenty of the ball and knocked it around and looked nice and created chances, but not been able to finish them, I don't think Scotty plays that way. I think he's going to play a fast, direct, powerful, pacey game. He's going to have some of the best, quickest, hungriest young players, hopefully pulling a few of them up from the National League South. And I think he is well known and well loved at Aldershot. And I think he's and it works both ways. You know, it was his first professional club on loan when he was 19 years old. He won the football conference at Aldershot. He had 3 spells there in total. Sorry, Joe, cover your ears. He scored one of the most historic goals in their history down at Plainmoor in the 94th minute. There's so excited for him. But what I would say is that I've been, even though I know Scotty very well, I've been blown away by his interviews today. He really can articulate himself so well. He's such a good man manager, and you can't help but like the man. But he wants to win. He wants to win badly. He wants to succeed. And Slough, I think you've had wonderful 8 years of service from Scotty, and I really do hope that you can find somebody, you know, in the same kind of echelons that can take over. I'm sure you will. Slough are not that team that goes through 3 managers a season, are they? No. I think it's more like 3 managerial combinations in like 20 years or something. So, yeah, apologies to Slough fans. I know already from social media they're gutted to see Scotty go, sorry. Fraudulent slip there. I can't say any more about him, and I won't keep on. But Ben, you anything to add to that, because you wanted him as well, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he's one of the best young coaches I think coming through, and I'd be interested to see if he still puts his boots on for next season. You know, going up a division. I dare say he probably won't. But look, he's
probably in an emergency, I think. But
an emergency, yeah. I mean, he's a useful player to have around, even at his age, personally. But
yeah, just to chip in on that, Ben. In the statement that Aldershot put out, they did say in there that he will be calling it a day as a player.
Oh, okay.
But in his interview, he seemed a bit uncertain about that. So why don't we give him the let him look at his surroundings and see if he thinks he can still grace that pitch from time to time.
National League Cup.
Yeah.
Matt John did it for us and Josh Lillis.
Exactly that. And he's only 38. If Hendo can still do it at 41, Scotty can still do it. I'd like to see him register himself as a player, because we've all seen what ridiculous injury crisis his teams have. And it would be ridiculous to have somebody of his experience in the game, and his ability to play in defense or midfield, or even come on, pinch hit and take a late free kick,
I mean, it's a big challenge for him. Like, he's going into a place where, there's probably a bit more expectation in comparison to Slough, where, they just, I think a lot of them have been grateful to be at this level for a number of years, and it is going to hit him hard, because I think now this has happened, I sort of would say that unless they can find the right coach, to take it over, I can see them being in a massive relegation battle next season, because I think that's just how much of a good job he's done. That the amount of players we've talked about that have gone on to play, in National League and good clubs in the National League and even in the EFL as well. Him and his recruitment team seem to always find these little gems that always seem to go on to bigger and better things. But yeah, look, he's an outstanding young coach. Like, as you said, Rob, he's very well, very well articulated. And, I absolutely love listening to him. And, I always thought I'd love to have someone like that, because, like I say, I think he's a good fit for a lot of clubs, to be honest, just being the caliber. Yeah. And I think passion, on the pitch and on the sidelines as well. He's been around the non-league game for a number of years. And, I wish him all the best at Aldershot. I think he'll do a really good job for them, and hopefully get him pushing towards, that maybe that top 7, or at least, like I say, getting them out, like I say, that little rut they've been in for the last couple of seasons, where standards have slipped just a little bit for them.
Joe, did you want a quick say on Scotty? Because I know you're a big fan. Sorry, Shah, and then we'll push on.
Yeah, just obviously well done to Scotty. I think it's long overdue. I think it's probably the right time for him to make that step up. I think it is going to be difficult. I think Ben was right that there is a lot of expectation. Yes, Aldershot have been down the bottom end of the National League for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, barring that one obviously near playoff season with Tommy. But there is a lot of expectation on Aldershot. They're a stable, good National League club, and there's a lot of expectation on him to do well. I would be intrigued to see whether or not he just tries to replicate what he's done at Slough, I would imagine he's got to be a little bit more balanced in that and just try and, have a nice mixture in going long and actually having the quality to play. But he does inherit some really good footballers at Aldershot. Yes, obviously the retain list is out. There's a couple of surprises in there, Rob. Certainly on the footballing side in terms of Tyler Frost and Ollie Scott, but he inherits some really good players. For as poor as they've been this season, I've maintained that Aldershot have got some good footballers, and I think there'll be a lot of pressure on him to do well, given especially that they're going to have to reduce that budget and give it a right good go. But I'd certainly want a fighter like Scotty in my corner, because he'll give it a right good go. And I wish him well. I hope he does well at Aldershot.
He finished with a win against
Did.
KSR United as well, didn't he? So
Yeah.
I mean that's good. He wanted that badly because do you know at half time in that game, Slough were losing and they were going to finish 20th.
Wow.
They turned it round 1 and I think finished 16th, which maybe said that he was then able to say, well, look, we've equalled what we did last year and we had a better cup run. All right, good luck to Slough. Good luck to Slough Town. And I know you're welcome, Scotty, back with open arms whenever he can come along and watch a game, because he will do.
And before you play each other, first cup draw that you get, whether that's the FA Trophy or the FA Cup or whatever comes along, first cup draw you get, Aldershot Slough.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to think we'll be there in pre-season first. Right, Shah, come on, move us on. Sorry.
Before we talk about the playoffs, Joe, I'm going to come to Ben first because there was a little bit of heartbreak for your lot, wasn't there, Ben? Obviously, George Ellacobi's last game at Maidstone as well. How was it for you? Because it seemed like a little bit of an emotional one, but some of the great content that I've seen you put out with George Ellacobi, it's been absolutely fantastic. But thoughts on it all?
It was a very strange afternoon because I've been confident all week that we were going to that the results would go our way, but it was more worried about that. Are we going to do our job, which is obviously beat Bath, because they've been rejuvenated a little bit in the last few weeks, and I thought that was probably a more difficult fixture for us than maybe playing one of the likes of your Chippenhams or Enfields, just because Scott Bartlett's just got reaction out of these players, and naturally they weren't that bad, to be honest with it. We got ourselves to the worst possible start, conceding after about 2 minutes. Scott Wilson put in a great strike. God knows why they put him out on loan to Western-super-Mare, because he's been, the games I've watched, in their highlights, he's been brilliant for them, been relentless in front of goal. And then he scored a second shortly before half time. And, 2-0 down, and results were going our way as well. It was like, it was typical that we're just going to throw it away like we usually do in typical Maidstone fashion. And I think I put the halftime tweet out as we need a massive second half, and we didn't play badly in the first half, but just didn't really have that cutting edge. Second half again, and until we'd made a couple of changes, we didn't really look like causing them any problems. But we've made a couple of changes. We've decided to opt for pace, with Chrissy Patterson coming on, and Mark Borrock, who's not long turned 18 years old, by the way, and only got his first start for us last Wednesday in the Kent Senior Cup final against Tunbridge. And it was Mark Borrock who made the instant impact for us. He set up Jamie Yealer for a goal back with 20 minutes to go, and we're going, right, okay, here we go. We need obviously another 2 more to at least put some pressure on the teams above us. And it still looked like it was just going to fade out a little bit for us. But then George Fowler gets us the equaliser, with a great strike, on his left foot. And it was a really weird one, because for every goal that was going in, I wasn't celebrating, because it's like, well, look, if we can do our part, I'm still looking at it and think, right, okay, Ebbsfleet have lost, so that's good. We just need 1 more goal going in elsewhere. And it just wasn't happening. And then we've scored with the 96th minute. Mark Borrock, obviously, look, he's just got the slightest touch in it to get his first goal for the club. Absolutely over the moon for him. As a young boy, he goes to Maidstone Grammar School. He's still, in sick form. He's only been involved with the first team properly for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Really good young prospects. I really hope we sign him on next year, because he could be the next Riley Court. Personally, I've seen enough of him to think that he's got enough to give this level a really good go. I'm really, as I say, it was just ironic it had to be a homegrown boy to win it in George Ellacobi's final game in charge. And, we're all then looking at it thinking, right, okay, we need another goal to go in. We were relying on either Dorking to score against Western or Hornchurch to score against Maidenhead. And there was a bit of heartbreak at the fact that probably about 30 seconds after we restarted after the third goal, there was massive cheers coming from behind our goal from our supporters. So we were thinking, who scored? I think someone had probably seen that we'd gone into seventh place without realising that Hornchurch was still 0-0. And then, unfortunately, that sort of just died a death very quickly. So, at the full-time whistle, it was very strange because we're like, well, look, on any other day, it's a fantastic comeback, and really, showed what George Elukobi's time at the football club's been like, that never say die attitude. And as Graham puts, I think when you play a season of 46 games, and you've been going travelling up and down, in the south, and you lose it and +3 goal difference, it hurts a little bit. But look, there's so many moments, and obviously as Joe was talking about with Ebbsfleet losing, a lot of games in the last minute. We could go back to the 6 points at the start of the season. We let slip from goals in the 90th minute. We lost to Slough, Chippenham at Eastbourne in the space of a week. I think those are the ones that have ultimately cost us a playoff spot. If we'd had better game management, we would have been the title. We would have won the league. I really think that. I probably sound a bit deluded for saying that, considering all the good quality sides that have finished above us, but we really weren't that far off, and that's what's really frustrating. If we had this team now that finished the season in comparison to the start of the season, we would have won the league 100%. But look, George wasn't backed in that regard, and I'm gutted for him that he'd never got to have that extra game. He even said to me on the coach on the way back, sorry Ben, I couldn't give you that extra game you wanted. I was like, well, Gaffer, to be honest, I need a break really, so I'm all right with it. I think the biggest salt in the wounds, and which Joe might find a bit funny, is the fact that when we pulled up at the service station, we bumped into the Torquay United team. You think you've just walked past the team that have made the top 7 and finished, got us home playoff semi-final. Dion Moore comes off the coach, and you're going, so that's just, you couldn't have written it any better, to be honest. But look, I'm really pleased that George gets to finish on a win. The reign's now been passed over to Craig Fagan, now our assistant manager, who's taken the baton for next season, which I'm over the moon for Craig. Obviously, I would have loved Scotty Davis. We were never probably going to get him realistically, but Craig's another really good up and coming young coach who's very tactically aware, very good with the players, and he really cares as well. George got so emotional in that post match huddle. He was almost in tears. Almost to say, look, help this man. Get us back to where we need to be. The standards need to continue. And, Craig is someone I really trust, and I hope that whoever he brings in, as his number 2 will be just as passionate and will give absolutely everything for this football club. But look, if you'd offered me this at the start of the season, I think I probably would have taken it, because I thought we were going to be in that relegation battle, but we finished 77 points, have missed out just only 2 points less than what we got last season as well, which again, I think is a huge achievement for this team, considering the quality of the players that we had last year. But it is what it is. Look, well done to the likes of Maidenhead, who've just about managed to squeeze in there. Curse Hornchurch for not scoring. They're one of about 50 chances they had against Maidenhead. But look, we did what we could, and we just fell short. So fair play to the team, but it just wasn't enough.
Joe, I'm going to finally let you have your moment. You've been waiting very, very patiently over there, but talk to us about Torquay United, and obviously qualified for a semi-final now. I'm guessing you're really happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I obviously managed to catch the game on my phone and saw that we'd won, which was relief, going to Tonbridge off the back of them winning 6-1. I thought it'd be a difficult game. And yeah, managed to win 2-1. Dion Moore with another goal. Jimmy Ball said that once he'd score one, the floodgates would open. And I think my nan could have scored the goal he scored, but he kind of tripped over it at the back post and
she
over the
got
line.
her boots, didn't she?
Yeah. But they all count. And Dylan Morgan with what is now his customary goal, cutting from the right-hand side and rolled it into the bottom corner for 2-0. Babajide, who's been in really good form under Alan Dunn, he scored the pick of the goals again. Seems like every week the goal that Torquay concedes the goal of the game. Terrific strike from the edge of the area. But yeah, managed to hold on. A really big save from Seb Stacey to make it, or to keep it at 2-1. And obviously seen that we'd won the game. Obviously was happy that we'd managed to qualify for the playoffs. And then I look at the other results and we'd managed to sneak third place. So yeah, we've got a home tie now on Saturday against Dorking or Maidenhead. Obviously will be a really tricky game either way. But yeah, obviously second last year, third this year, another home semi-final. And yeah, good to finish on a high after the disappointment of last week against Hemel. I think if we'd have gone into the playoffs off the back of 2 defeats, that would have been disappointing. But we've bounced back well, and we didn't even have to use probably our best player, Louis Dennis, either. So who didn't get in the match day squad. So yeah, in a good position. Now we look forward to Saturday.
Can I just say as well, if you'd bothered to show up against Hemel, we would have been in the playoffs. So thanks for that, Joe.
Oh.
Yeah, well, obviously a big crowd in that one. We didn't show up in that one. And yeah, obviously we now got the home game. Tickets are selling well, I hear, already over 3,000, which is good. And what a brilliant away support as well. The fact that there was over 700 Torquay fans that made the trip from Torquay to what is virtually France. So, yeah, brilliant away support.
Just a quick one on, you talk about the big home crowd that you'll have on Saturday. One of the other playoff managers, you can probably guess who it was, has been quoted as saying well, not if really, you have to give up now. New rules are in place, and you have to give up. Is it 1/4 or 1/5? I can't remember of your capacity to the away support.
Yeah, obviously, I think Mark said in his preview for this week that they've got to give up 25%, so they'll get 1,500 tickets. If they sell that, then I'm Santa Claus, I think. Don't think they're going to be selling 1,500 tickets, that's for sure. But yeah, fair play to them if they do. It's a weird one, isn't it, with big crowds? Almost you want that atmosphere. Weirdly, Torquay's best season came in COVID when there was no fans. So, and obviously when we did have our biggest crowd of the season, we lost at home to Hemel. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But we will cross that bridge if and when Mark gets there on Saturday. Torquay are there, and will Mark be there?
We might be there. Sorry, Joe. I should admit that. So Joe and I have been doing a little bit of planning, haven't we? You will be there, Joe, won't you? You will be there. You will be there. And if the Surrey-based side progress, I may be there to do a little commentary gig. In which case, we're gonna meet up. But it's all ifs and buts. And I keep coming back. I've probably been doing it too many years in football now, so I've got it in my head about one game at a time. Do you know what I mean? And I think we're probably are we at the point where we're going to come on and preview the playoffs, Char? Or have we still got some games?
Yeah. I'm just going to read the table out now. I was just going to say as well, obviously, in the chat we do have our Yeovil friend in the chat, and I don't know if it's because now he's hating more on Morgan and York, but he's being very, very kind to Torquay and you, Joe, at the minute. He's gave you stick all season, but now I think he's got a new enemy in Morgan.
Yeah, well, I think we are virtually Yeovil reserves at this point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's so yeah.
Right, I will read out the final table of the National League South. So, top of the table, promoted to the National League and champions, we do have Worthing on 84 points, Hornchurch is second on 81 points, Torquay are third on 80 points. Obviously, both of them have qualified for that semi-final playoff spot. And then in the playoffs, we have Dorking, who are fourth on 79 points, Hemel Hempstead are fifth on 79 points, Weston-super-Mare sixth on 78 points, and Maidenhead seventh on 77 points. And in the relegation zone, we didn't touch too much on the relegation zone because we did speak about it quite a lot last week. So if anybody is interested in that chat, we did have a good chat about it in last episode. But in 21st, we have Bath on 43 points, Chippenham 22nd on 42 points, Enfield Town 23rd on 40 points, and Eastbourne Borough, they are bottom of the National League South and have been relegated on 36 points. So, playoffs. Hemel Hempstead versus Weston-super-Mare tomorrow evening. Morgan, you've not spoke for a while, so I will come to you first. What's your thoughts on this game, and who do you see progressing in this one?
It's a really tough one to call because obviously they finished only a point separate, fifth and sixth. It's really obviously two very closely matched teams. I think when you look at the head-to-heads, Hemel won 3-0 back in November. They drew 0-0 at the end of March. So two very, very different results. And when they're that far apart in terms of timescale, it's hard to kind of take much comparison from either of them when it's so different. I think I'll take a Hemel win, but they've both come into this on relatively good form. So it's not like one of them you're trying to pick yourselves up like Dorking. I know we say form flies out the window in one-off games, but I think there is always some psychological thing of you then have to flip a switch. But I'll take Hemel. They're the home team. I think it'll be a close game, but yeah, Hemel, Lee Allison gets the win.
Rob, I'm going to come to you next.
Tighter than a tight thing, going to extra time and possibly penalties. No idea.
Oh, you're going to pick one?
Western.
Joe, I'll come to you next.
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be a game for the purists. I think it'll be quite dull. Neither of them are particularly free scoring, which means it'll end up probably 4-4 now. But
double desert, as Sam says.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be a very physical game. I don't think there'll be a lot in it. You know, Hemel at home, you would imagine that they'll probably be the favourites in that one, given that they finished higher and they've got that advantage at home. And their home record has been pretty good. So, yeah, I would probably stick with what Morgan said and probably go for Hemel to win that one.
Ben, who are you going to go for in this one?
This one, I think, probably the more harder one to predict, I think, for me.
Yeah.
But I will back Weston-super-Mare to do it. I think Joe's right. I can see it's been only a 1-goal game. Again, I think this might go to extra time, but I think Weston are going to win this one 1-0. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It could so easily be 1-0 Hemel Hempstead as well. But I just feel with Weston, they're very, they can be a very good force on the road. To be fair, their away record isn't too bad. And again, hopefully they'll have a good backing as well from some of their supporters making a long trip up to Hertfordshire. But yeah, I think it's going to be Weston's night.
And then the next one, obviously, Dorking Maidenhead. Do you know what, Rob? I'm going to come to you first. Dorking or Maidenhead?
Well, I'm never gonna go against Dorking in a home game at Meadowbank against anybody in the division. But I do think it will be tough. A couple of interesting points are: so Maidenhead played such a canny. They played this so cannily at the weekend, didn't they? I mean, any one of those, they defended for their lives. If any one of those Hornchurch chances had gone in, then as Ben, as already hinted at, just one goal and Maidenhead wouldn't have made the playoffs. But they knew if they got a point, it would almost certainly be enough because they had the best goal difference of them, Maidstone and Ebbsfleet. So they managed to keep Hornchurch out at home. Not many teams do that. If they can do something similar again, they could make it a frustrating evening for Dorking. But I do fancy Dorking. It might be tight. It might just be 1-0. Might be 2-1. They did meet fairly recently at Maidenhead, and Maidenhead won that game 2-0, if I remember right. So tough, but Dorking to prevail.
Ben?
I'm going to back Maidenhead. I know it's obviously Dorking at home. The old quote Mark White uses is never write off the Wanderers, write them off at your peril. And whereas I do agree with him on that. The injuries have absolutely killed their season for me, and I just feel like they're on their last legs a little bit, albeit they sound like they played quite well at Western on Saturday. But Maidenhead, again, what the best defensive record in the division. They don't let many chances, come by. It will be a frustrating one thing for Dorking, where they may well have a lot of the ball, but with the likes of Will de Havilland at the back for Maidenhead, they can be an absolute force. And I just think, especially after a really good defensive performance on Saturday against Hornchurch, I would back them in this game. Attacking wise, that would be where be interested to see if they can get a couple of chances. But I think Maidenhead are gonna nick it again. Be a close one, but I think they're going to do it 2-1.
Morgan, I'm going to come to you next.
It's a really tough one to call. Dorking have lost 3 times at home all year, but twice of them since Easter Monday. So when you look at the big picture, you're thinking, Dorking have the best home form in the league. They're it's not something you do. It's really hard to beat a Mark White team at Meadowbank, but it's happened twice recently, and Maidenhead beat them at Maidenhead back in March, not too long ago. There's going to be some weird psychological things going on. Maidenhead come into it with better form, but how much does form play into this? I'm really struggling to call this, because I think Ben and Robbie both made really good points about both teams. You know what, Dorking, Dorking sneak it just.
Joe, I'm going to come to you next on this, and then I do have a question in the chat for you as well. So, Dorking or Maidenhead?
Yeah, Dorking for me. I think a lot is made of the injury crisis, I think, rightly over the season. But looking at the team they've got still to put out, they've got a good team. I think their team would probably start, quite a few of their players would start for most teams. I hope, for Mark's sake, that Dorking can do it, because, he said in his final game at home against Bath in the league, he said that this is a poor league. So he should have no problem getting through the playoffs.
He included his own side as part of that, though, Joe, just to be clear.
Yeah. So he's obviously said in the past that he thinks his team has certainly got the best squad in the league. And he'll be, I think the pressure will be on them after coming short last year against Bournemouth. Maidenhead, obviously, under new management, only just creeping in on the final day. Whether or not that psychologically is in Maidenhead's favour. I still back Dorking with their quality. I mean, they should win at home. Been fairly good home record.
Got a question here off Lee as well. Thoughts on who you'd rather Torquay face on Saturday? With Dorking's recent form and injuries, I'd like to see them personally, he's put.
I would prefer to face Maidenhead. I stand by. I think Dorking are a good team. For all of their injuries, they've got one of the best squads for a reason. A good side. And certainly when we've played them this season, they battered us 3-0 at their place. We got a draw against them at home, and they played really well. I don't really want to play Dorking, because I think they've just got that bit of experience. The fact that they've announced the departure of a couple of key players, it's almost like, here's your one final, bow in a Dorking shirt, whether they can go out on a high. I wouldn't, as he says, don't write off the Wanderers. And yes, they finished 4th, but I think of the teams in there, they've got the most experience and have won a playoffs before. So I think probably the pressure's on them.
You don't want Dorking to come, Joe. You don't want me to come down for the weekend, do you? Shah, are you going to have a say on this one? It's tight.
I'm going to back Hemel on the first one. And I've got to back Dorking, to be honest, against Maidenhead on that one. I'm going to go for. But then again, my predictions are always wrong. Predictions are always wrong. But we will come on to, obviously, National League now. I think, Morgan, what we should do, me and you, we'll talk about the other games first, because there's so much chat and so much to unpack in our game. But I am going to come to you first and foremost. any of the games that you want to talk about on here, apart from ours, obviously. The only draw.
I could talk about Saturday and the aftermath for weeks.
You're not. I'm going to remove you in a minute if you carry on.
2.5 minutes. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You know
if
what?
He's lucky.
Tamworth, but not just because of the result, but because of the news that's come out about them recently about this takeover that's going to be happening. 5-1 win against Braintree. Obviously, Braintree already relegated. And Tamworth, again, massively punching above their weight. They've had a fantastic season. And I think I said it last week, Andy Peets deserves a hell of a lot of credit for the season they've had. They're never an easy team to face, especially at the Lamb Ground. They're really, really tough to play against. Always make it difficult for whoever goes there. But the fact that they can then turn it on and hit 5 in a game, yes, against an already relegated team, but just being able to end a season on a high in the sun in front of their own fans is just a really, really nice way to end it. Let me just pull up the goal scorers. Yeah, Mole's got 2 of them. Dan Creaney got 1. Obviously, when Dan Creaney left last summer to go to Solihull, people thinking, how's it going to impact them? Never really had the impact at Solihull. Has gone back to Tamworth and is scoring goals for them again. So, yeah, thank you, Chris. It's going to be really interesting what their summer looks like if when this goes through. Because if we get the confirmation by the end of this month that that's been all gone through, they've got 3 months effectively of planning and recruitment, and they're going to be spending a lot on other parts of the football ground. Football clubs always do. They want to look at the ground, the training ground, other staff. Everything's going to get a boost as long as they do this sensibly. We've seen big money. We had new owners come into football clubs before and it's gone wrong. Obviously, we've seen Morecambe this year, Scunthorpe, York. You can continue listing bad ownership in football. But I think this one's going to go well. I really hope I'm not going to be eating my word by the end of the year of what's gone wrong at Tamworth this year. I think this American-based consortium is going to do a massive, massive boost for Tamworth. And I think they're going to take that step to go professional. And in a year or two's time, they could be the next new team into the Football League, like we've seen Bromley do it, like we've seen Harrogate do it, like we've seen so many clubs in recent years take that step into the Football League. We could be saying that's Tamworth in only a year or two's time if this consortium all goes as I think it should.
Yeah, definitely. Rob, any standouts from you from over the weekend?
Yeah, I was looking. I mean, yeah, sorry. I was looking at them, and a lot of them are what, I hate the term if I'm honest, but a lot of them were dead rubbers. But there is always something to play for. I'm going to pick out Carlisle 3, Brackley 0. For a very spurious reason, actually. Firstly, Carlisle, fair play to them for coming nicely into the playoffs with a good home win. Something I've noticed about Carlisle, whether it's Boreham Wood or Forest Green that go there on Saturday, they need to shut up shop in the first half an hour, because Carlisle have won so many games with 1, 2 or 3 goals in the first half an hour at home. And they did 2 again this week. It was against Brackley. Brackley were already relegated, and here's my spurious reason for picking this game. I just want to say, as somebody connected with Aldershot Town, that although a derogatory comment was made, a throwaway, but a derogatory comment was made about Brackley, it's not a view that's reflected by me or anybody I know at Aldershot or players, management or anything. It was unfortunate. And it came from our chairman, who self-admits he doesn't know a lot about football. He's got a lot still to learn about football and how you sometimes conduct yourself in football. So it's not really for me to apologise for him, but I just want to say to Brackley Town fans that, you thoroughly deserved that crack at the National League this year. You thoroughly deserved the 3 points last weekend. And I hope you get back up again soon, because you're a lovely club. And of all the clubs, I think I've been to every away game this season, bar Hartlepool, where I've been many times before. Brackley Town was far and away the most hospitable club that I visited all season. From the minute we walked through the door in reception, just the way we were greeted, just so different to any other club that I'd been to. So I personally come away with wonderful feelings about Brackley, and then unfortunately someone at our football club made a derogatory comment of which I'm embarrassed about, and I just wanted to share that on here, and I hope in some small way that redresses the balance.
Definitely. Ben, I'll let you carry on for a minute because I don't know where we're kind of up to. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was going to come to probably Joe next because we already asked Morgan and Rob. So, Joe, was there any standouts for you for the weekend?
I'll pick out Solihull Moors. I think they've been, use that term, on the beach for a while, but there's been some really good signs under Chris Millington. One of my favourite managers, very intelligent, very tactically savvy, has been steadily improving them week by week. Another game in which they've hit 4, put the game to bed within 15 minutes, 3-0 up in that one. So much so that Yeovil even allowed youngster Dakari Mafiko to get in his car and drive to Cardiff at half time to go and take part in their title celebrations, having started the match. So, it's certainly had that end of season feel for Yeovil. They even substituted their goalkeeper, Jed Ward, with a couple of minutes to go to give Matt Gould his debut. He's been there 2 years, but that was his debut. Just almost to give Jed Ward his thank you for what a brilliant season he's had. Got 3 Player of the Year awards for Yeovil. Has probably been the reason why they've actually stayed up this season, because he's kept them in so many games. But yeah, Solihull Moors, the good signs for them. Obviously, they're going to be, I think, quite busy in the summer. They've already got rid of Alex Whitmore, who's announced his departure from the football club. It'd be interesting to see where he goes. But yeah, a really good end to the season for them. And I think Chris Millington will be quite pleased that not many people are talking about them, because I think he'll quite fancy them to go around, be a little bit of a dark horse next season in the National League. If they can keep hold of Joe Sabara, add a couple of really good additions, I think I don't think they'll be far off that top 7.
I'm going to come to you now, Ben. Anyone here?
Pick on Eastleigh. A good finish to the season for them. Again, there's been another tough campaign for them where, it seems to be the same old trends where they start off really well. Everyone's getting a bit hyped about them. And then, all of a sudden they start slowly slipping down the table. Before you know, they're getting towards a relegation battle. But, I guess Scunthorpe were probably having one eye on the players, which you can't blame them for, really, because it was a dead rubber game for them. They weren't going to go any higher, but they weren't going to go any lower either. So it probably gave them a chance. I didn't look at their team. I'm assuming they'd rested a couple of players as well to keep them fresh for midweek, which, is a fair assessment of it. But for Eastleigh, like I say, it's a great way to end. Harvey Saunders getting the goal in the first half for them, to finish in what's, like I say, has been a tough campaign. They've gone for a few managers, but, a lot of work again for them to do next season to get that extra step. Because, I didn't think recruitment was all that bad for them in the summer in comparison to a few of the clubs in the division. But I think they just didn't have maybe the manager for the job at the time. Obviously, in Phillips, Kelvin Davis. Sorry. So yeah, they've still got to do, like I say, a good end to the season against Scunthorpe. Again, they've been really good at home this season. Sort of carried on that momentum last season, but the Scunthorpe's eyes will be on that playoff game against Southend this week.
And just a mention on Kelvin Davis as well. It's been a pretty poor season for him. Obviously, falling short with Eastleigh, and then going up to Hednesford, really well backed up there, and they fell short on the final day of the season to fall short of the title as well, to potentially get into the North. So not the best season for him. We may still see him, of course, if they win the playoffs, but potentially falling short with 2 teams there this year.
My standout, obviously, I'm going to pick the Southend game because it is the final of the FA Trophy as well, isn't it? Southend versus Wealdstone. We've spoke about Southend for the last couple of weeks as well, how they've picked up some really good form when they've really needed it to. And I feel like with this game, they still won it despite resting a lot of key players. They're getting key players back from injury as well. I think it allowed them to rest Gus Scott Morris. I know Cardwell is getting back to fitness as well, which I think is massive. Not necessarily for us if they do get past that Scunthorpe game, because they are the ones who, them and Scunthorpe, which we will get onto a little bit later, are the ones that we could potentially see in that semi-final. But yeah, I just think it was a fantastic result for them. And obviously, I did want to point out, because we are talking about the playoff teams too, Forest Green, I know it was against Morecambe, who are already down, but fantastic win, obviously, for Forest Green. We can't deny them that 5-0 win. Very, very good for them.
And Ricardo Reese back and
Yes.
scoring a couple of goals.
Yeah,
And that's timely, isn't
very
it? That's
good.
a really timely return.
And just a
Definitely.
point to add on that as well, I was watching a Forest Green sometimes put some clips up on their YouTube of filming Robbie Savage on the touchline and in the dugout at their games. And I thought you had a really interesting point to say before the game. His message to the players was, I can't really say much more now given the position we're in, but don't play yourself out of the squad for Wednesday night. So his players certainly took that on board and put in a 5-star display.
Definitely. As well, I know we spoke about it too, but obviously there was a lot of mixed reviews on the penalty shootout that we did have the other week, when obviously it was getting them after the game to take them under pressure. But I just think it's fantastic, if I'm being quite honest, because they're under pressure at the end of the day. If it does get to the playoffs, they're going to be under pressure there and then. And I know we did get a lot of stick for that, but I thought that was a fantastic, obviously, idea to do, if I'm being quite honest.
Yeah, I completely back you on that. I thought it was, you can't create the actual situation, but that's probably as near as you can get to it.
100%.
So why not?
100%. Before we talk about, obviously, our game, Morgan, I do have a match report from Luke. So he has put Altrincham away, forgot that we were playing today, couldn't be bothered. We've done the business, roll on next season. And in the chat as well, Alison has said about, obviously, Altrincham and Boston. They've been on a good run lately and could be next season's dark horses. Do we agree with that one? Obviously, it all depends on signings and stuff, doesn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, a bit early to say, I think.
Yeah, one person I did want to give a mention to, obviously, for Altrincham was Liam Humbles. He's a midfielder who's obviously on loan from Dale, and I feel like he's had a really, really good season, latter end of the season for them. And I know a lot of Altrincham fans have said how much they really, really rate him. So, obviously, it's really good that he's got minutes.
Love
for
to
them.
see him on the ball. He's really direct. He's quite refreshing. There's not enough players in the game these days that just get the ball and run with it and run at you directly. And he played very, very well at the EBB for Altrincham earlier in the season. So, yeah, good shout that. Yeah,
definitely. But Morgan, I'm going to start with you first, because obviously fantastic for York. As I've said all season, they are the ones to watch. They were the ones to watch. Absolutely fantastic. Credit where credit is due. I've always, throughout this title race, never been cocky. I've always been humble. I've known who were obviously coming for us. It happened on the final day. But yeah, tell us your thoughts from a York point of view first.
Oh, my thoughts. I'm just happy to be back in the Football League. Like, it's finally been done. 10 years of absolute hell this club has been through.
Yeah.
I know this year and last year as well, obviously Matt Ogler, and he can be a bit loud on Twitter and people have their views on him. And I know there's opposition fans that call us cocky and arrogant at times. I know, Rob, I know you don't like him. I know a lot of people don't like Matt Ogler.
He's done it again. He's done it again today.
He's done it again. He's gone a bit mental this weekend.
Yeah.
And I know people don't want an owner to be like that, but I don't want that to be the entire... Absolutely no worries, Luke. Congrats on staying up. But I don't want that to be the whole picture of what York City are. We've gone through a stadium move, 2 different owners that tried to kill the club. There was Ryan Fallowfield didn't get paid at a point. He was part of a squad when we're in the National League that didn't get paid. We have gone through hell and back. We lost to North Ferriby in the last 10 years. We lost away at Gloucester. We were bottom of National League North. We have been through hell and back as a football club. So to finally have a little bit of, I don't know, it's our day in the sun. Every club has it. You finally get there. You finally have your day in the sun. And with there being so much international coverage of this game, even before it, you had the French media talking about it. Josh Stones has been on CBS today, Talk Sport. This has been the BBC, every single media outlet you can think of.
What's left of Josh Stones?
Yeah, what's left after one of the greatest title celebration weekends I think we'll ever see from anyone. But it's gone so far, and it's just nice to have York City in the sun. It was a horrible day, to be completely honest, up until that final whistle and that goal going in. I was so nervous I couldn't eat. I felt incredibly sick. At halftime, I was relatively happy. I thought we were the slightly better team. It was a very close game. Dale, you were more direct than I expected. Stuart Maynard said it in his own post-match interview. Dale, more direct. You didn't cut the grass. You didn't roll it. You made that pitch one that you couldn't play football on, and you played for that. Manny D was excellent, and he finally got his goal. That Ian Henderson pass was absolutely phenomenal, by the way. I'll get on to the end of the game in a minute. But we had the chances. We had more half chances. Joe Gray had a chance. Stones had a couple of one-on-ones. We had more opportunities to score compared to Dale, but you kept it tight. It wasn't a good advert for the National League, but it was never really going to be with so much on the line. Neither team was going to ever give much. And I think your subs really helped. Our subs didn't. Gambatti did make a bit of a difference, but it just took everyone a little bit of time to get into the game. When Ian Henson came on, I was terrified, to be completely honest. He was the one player I did not want to go near the ball because he showed it in the 95th minute. That pass for Disruve's header, yeah, Watmuff was fantastic. He made that save that it took a deflection, he clawed it out of the goal. It was a fantastic save. Watmuff, I don't say kept you in it, but he had a fantastic game.
He had a very good game. Dan Moss as well. I think Dan Moss was
Dan Moss had a good game. I thought him and Jeff was Dan Moss left wing back. I think he was, because him and Jeff King left it on each other in the first couple of minutes. Those two had a really good battle. But yes, that Ian Henson pass was absolutely phenomenal. That went in, and my head just went. I was like, cool, like we're going to Tamworth next season. And I then just yeah, sorry, Tamworth.
Are you going to admit what you wrote in the WhatsApp in the group at that point?
Oh yeah, no, So that happened, and I put a message in the group chat. What was it? See you in August.
Congratulations, Shah. See you next season.
See you in August, right? Turned my phone off. I was like, I can't do this. And then I just sat down, and everyone around me started standing up when we got closer and closer, and Stones had that shot and the cross and everything. I was like, I can't watch. Then everyone went mental, and I finally came to. My hands were shaking. I couldn't believe we'd actually done it. And then finally got back into town, and the celebration started. Ended up getting back out to the stadium. I met Clayton Donaldson for the first time. I've got photos with Hiram Boateng and Alex Newby. There's a video of Josh Stones with a flare in one hand, a pint in the other, singing the chant that Oldham fans were singing at him last season. It was a very fun night. And then I don't really remember getting home, to be honest. It became a very, very long night. Ben Brooks had a Sweden flag around him. I remember messaging you about that, Ben, because he's got a Swedish mom. And then you will have all seen all the videos of Jeff King and Josh Stones, especially, just going absolutely mental through Saturday night and into Sunday. But we're back in the Football League. We don't have to worry about DAZN anymore. Or there's just a lot that it's just nicer to just be in the Football League, where I don't say we belong. Everyone belongs where you finish in football. It's the meritocracy of football. It's why we love the pyramid. But we've always felt like a League Two club, and it's really nice to get there and start having some, I say new away days, but going back to places like Tranmere, who are a bit of a bigger ground, or Port Vale. It's going to be nice to fit in with some of the bigger clubs in the football pyramid. Rotherham's a league fixture for us next year. So it was a stressful day, but I'm so glad we're back. And I don't have to worry about football for a few months, because we don't play football till August. And this season, it feels so compact, the National League season, from August to April, 46 games, cup runs to Barnsley and stuff like that. It's been a long year, but it's really nice to know that we can relax and I can watch the playoffs without having to worry about us being in them or anything like that. We're done.
Shah, you've listened so patiently to all of that. Try and take us through your day. I mean, you had a wonderful high.
Oh yeah, congrats on being on DAZN, Shah. Very proud of you for that.
Oh, thank you. After calling them. I'm absolutely gutted, to be honest, like anybody would be. But as I've mentioned throughout the season, and as we've all mentioned, and I think we did on last week's podcast, it was always going to be defined by a late goal. It was defined by 2 late goals, the story of both of our seasons. So it was always going to go to a late goal, and obviously it was 2. But I just want to say, first and foremost, like, how proud I am of every single member of Rochdale Football Club, player-wise, management-wise, from that aspect, because I feel like we've had an absolutely fantastic season. And York have obviously been absolutely phenomenal. I've complimented them throughout it. I've never once said that we were going to win the league, even when we were ahead. I've never once said that, because I know how fantastic York actually are. But every single one of them players who wore that shirt and have worn that shirt throughout the season, I just want to say thank you, because they've been absolutely fantastic. Going into the game, obviously, just seeing us play and stuff, I thought that we were pretty good. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, because I've said for the last few weeks we've not performed at our best. I feel like we are running on fumes, if I'm being quite honest. I thought they don't seem to have anything left in them, but then obviously we've been pulling out the late wins, mentality kind of thing as well, which people said we did need to work on last season. I feel like we're working on, and we have worked on this season, and the late goals have obviously shown that. The late goal again, brilliant. Like Morgan said, Ian Henderson comes on, fantastic ball. Like the Manny Desirue goal was really, really good to get up there. I know he's high, but to obviously get up there, I thought it was fantastic. But you have to praise that Ian Henderson ball. Absolutely fantastic.
I just think it deserves a hell of a lot of confidence. The 95th minute, you're 30 yards out, and he pulls out a Travella pass. Like, no one thinks to do that. Like, Ian Henderson, to have the balls to do that is insane. But as you were.
We said he'd have a big moment in the game as well, didn't he? Last week, I said it's crying out for an Ian Henderson moment, where he was going to score or not. I knew he'd have an impact, obviously. Better still what happened, but carry on, Michelle.
Yeah, definitely. What I did want to mention, though, because obviously we're talking about Ian Henderson and the substitutions, which I thought them substitutions were fantastic from Jim. But one person who I thought was really, really good and changed it when he came on, and obviously the physicality really helped, was Casey Petit. He obviously came on for Ryan East, and I thought Casey Petit, when he came on, was absolutely brilliant. And part of me now, as much as I love Ryan East and Harvey Gilmore together, it's making me think, and we'll get onto it a little bit later in the playoffs, is maybe start with Casey Petit in that midfield, because I feel like that physicality really, really helped when he came on. And obviously Southend Scunthorpe have some big lads in their squad, so I think that would really, really help us. But I wanted to shout him out, because as much as Ian Henderson 100% deserves his praise for coming on, he changes the game, he just brings a calmness. Casey Petit is always revving the lads up, no matter what. When they're down, when they're shattered, he's always confident, he's always boosting them up. And that's one thing I really, really like about Casey Petit. I think he's a natural... I know he's not at the moment. I feel like everywhere he's been captained. And I think he has got, hopefully, fingers crossed, if he does stay with us, he has the potential to be a future captain at Rochdale Football Club. And he has just been so good for us, and just his patience that he has as well, because he was a starter for Maidenhead at the end of the day. He was playing week in, week out. And for someone to sit at Rochdale, he's not really necessarily had many chances, apart from when obviously Harvey Gilmore was injured. He's played in the National League Cup here and there, but to still be one of those players that is boosting everybody up, is boosting the fans up week in, week out, I just wanted to say hats off to him. He's been absolutely fantastic, and he was fantastic when he came on. It just sums up football, if I'm being quite honest, having a real high. And it was really funny, actually, because everybody, when we went into that final bit of injury time before we scored, all the Dale fans were being so negative, like, oh, we've blown it. And I turned round to obviously my family as well. I was like, no, we are going to score. I can see it now. We are going to score. This team, just believe in it, because this team so far has not let us down at the moment with these late goals. And if I'm being quite honest, the team, even though we did concede, not one of them let us down. They fought and they fought and they fought. And obviously that Ian Henderson pass, Manny Desiree scored. You've gone from a real high, and this is what kind of, I get it, but it angers me at the same time, because obviously emotions in football, I get it, like it's an emotional sport. You've gone from a real high, but fans running on the pitch then, in my opinion, really, really did kind of, I don't want to say ruin it for us, but it's kind of let York then regroup, have a drink, have a little bit of a team talk with Stuart Maynard, and then they've gone for it. And I'm not gonna sit here and say if that didn't happen, York wouldn't have gone out there and scored, because we know what York are like as well. We know they're clinical. We know they are a never give up kind of team, similar to what we're like. But that pitch invasion, in my opinion, could have been potentially one of the reasons that has cost us, if I'm being quite honest. And it's really annoyed me. And I know, like I said, it's an emotional sport. I get it. It's like you're excited and stuff, but that kind of really, really did get my back up, if I'm being quite honest. The scenes on the pitch as well from some of the fans, I thought was disgusting. Obviously trying to goad for York fans, for starters. We've seen it against Spennymoor last season. They've not learnt from that. But we all have that minority of fans that obviously do. Kind of, it's more your day trippers as well that kind of jump on the bandwagon and kind of let the fan base down. But York then regrouped and they got the goal. It was always going to be one player, Josh Stones. I've come on here week in, week out. I've said how much I really like Josh Stones. I really rate Josh Stones. At that moment in time, I was like, why? Really? Really? But yeah, just absolutely fantastic. I know there's a debates. Did it go over the line? Did it not go over the line? From certain angles, it doesn't look like it's gone over. But then from other angles, it did 100% go over, in my opinion. Obviously, linesman.
It's a really decisive, assertive flag from the assistant. He's like, that's almost saying, I've got a clear view, that's gone over. Yeah. That's what he was doing. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, I don't think that I don't think it has continued to be a big thing, a big point of debate. One thing I would say, and it's easy to criticise the Rochdale fans for coming on. It's a hell of a build-up through the season, and it's a hell of an emotive event. And all this talk about late goals, and then in the moment, you've got to feel 95 minutes gone out of 96, 97, that we've done it. And it's an incredible release of emotion. And whilst I'm not condoning it, everybody knew how big this match was. Was there sufficient stewarding around the ground to stop a pitch invasion? Because that should have been considered, in my opinion. One of those two teams was going to win the league at the end of that match. So some thought and provision should have been given, even if it meant 2 or 3 times more stewards. You have to do it sometimes in those big games. And hopefully lessons have been learned. And you'll probably find that in your home playoff semi-final now, you're going to have more stewards there.
What it wouldn't surprise me, though, to be honest, if some of these people have done it for the York game with the chance that we win, it wouldn't surprise me if half of these people don't even turn up to the playoff semi-final game. Like, genuinely, it sounds really bad, but it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I see it from both sides, from being honest. Like I said, the emotions do run high, but then part of me is like, the same happened against Spennymoor. I don't know if it's just because I were obviously there at the Spennymoor game. Same thing happened. They got to then regroup. They scored the goal, and then they obviously took us to penalties, and then the same kind of happened. But yeah, obviously, it was one of them moments where it was a real high to a real low. Obviously, there was stuff going on around the ground as well, which I'm not going to really get into, like some of the bad stuff that's happened on the pitch.
I wasn't sure if you're going to touch on that, because I was going to apologise for some of it, but if we're not going to touch on it, then let's keep it positive.
You can if you want touch on it, but
because we both know exactly what we're referring to with the Joey Thompson flag. Like that's grim. Like,
I was on about with thingy with Boltang. That's what I was saying. Yeah, I didn't know if we were allowed to really comment on it or what kind of thing.
Fair enough. Because I know there's been a few York fans and Dale fans have been talking about the Joey Thompson flag, and I've seen a few York fans be like, it's inexcusable. Like there's no need to go near it. Like even if you don't know what it's for, no need to go near a flag. Like just leave it alone, do your own thing. You pitch invade, whatever, don't go near that flag. Even if you don't know what it's for, there was just no need. So I can only apologise for that. The Boateng punch, I love him for it. I think it's a great punch. You shouldn't have gone near him in the first place. I've got a photo with Boateng now, and I'll always defend that man. But yeah, it got messy, didn't it? And I know that people saying, was there enough police presence? There was a York fan that was arrested, I think. He ran on the pitch, and it's when there's a video of it from the sidelines. He runs on the pitch, and he's like the first one on the pitch, and he's tackled by about 3 police officers. So there was some police presence, but clearly not enough to deal with. As Robert said, one of those teams is going to win the league. There's going to be a pitch invasion. You don't expect 2 goals, 2 pitch invasions and all of that. But there clearly wasn't enough to deal with the magnitude of the game. I did think, though, speaking of like other people in control, I thought the officials like dealt with the game really well. I don't think there's any contentious talking points from the game of, oh, that player shouldn't, like a penalty or a red card or anything. That game was decided on the pitch by 2 teams.
And I've got a question for you, Shah. And I've only just realised this. I'm thinking aloud a little bit. But I hope that Rochdale's goal and their moment and the moment where you thought you'd done it wasn't completely in vain. And here's my school of thought. If that game ends as a draw, but it ends 0-0, it fizzles out, it doesn't get much attention. The game already had the national and into Europe attention anyway. And then with the finale that happened, even more so. And I think we all would agree that the more focus on the National League, the better when it comes to the 3 up, 3 down argument. And so I'm going to say to you, as much as you had the heartache, if you had your time again, would you not rather have had that crazy, crazy finish than a 0-0?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like I said, we had our moment. And in that moment, it was absolutely fantastic. Like, absolutely fantastic. Like, don't know if anybody saw when we scored and all the Dale fans who didn't run on the pitch, just the limbs and everything. And just being in that moment with obviously my family there and stuff, it was absolutely amazing. And like I said, we thought it was going to be defined by a late goal. It's the story of both of our seasons. It was defined by them 2 goals. And the last bit was obviously fantastic, like for the National League and the 3 up, 3 down rule. 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's just, I'm just gutted. I'm just absolutely gutted. But then at the same time as well, as much as I'm absolutely gutted that we didn't end up winning it, I can also complain as well because it's been an absolutely fantastic season and I've enjoyed every single moment of it. And like I said, I'm so proud of all the lads. They've been absolutely brilliant, every single one of them that's put on the shirt, and that's part of that staff. And I know there's a lot of comments obviously in the chat about Jimmy McNulty making some comments. I'm not aware of anything of that, so I'm not going to come on here and obviously comment on them because I have no idea about that. There's obviously the video as well from a couple of players, what people are commenting on, that Rochdale players did go live. Silly, too early, silly, shouldn't have done it. But like we say, emotions run high in football, don't they? So,
I mean, had you won that game, it would have looked great. Like that goes viral of, oh my God, look, here's Adebayo rolling, dancing on the touchline as you win. It looks great. It's just unfortunate that then it then looks really stupid because it's almost out of his control. Like he does that and we don't score that goal, or he doesn't quite cross the line. He looks amazing. So it looks stupid, but that's just hindsight.
But yeah, I don't want to make it all about the negatives kind of thing because it's just been a completely fantastic title race, this one. Both teams obviously over 100 points again. So obviously focusing more on the positives rather than the negatives. But yeah, I will read the table out. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on it before I read the table out.
I think, just to be honest, like, you know, I must have I've probably watched the highlights of that game more than I did our game from the weekend, just because, like, you know, for me, everyone keeps talking about that Wrexham Notts County game from 2 or 3 years ago. That was the biggest game in National League history, you know, or in probably non-league football, to be honest. I cannot remember a game of quite that magnitude with two teams over 100 points playing each other the last game of the season. You know, I turned off the game. Like, as soon as our game finished, I saw Rochdale scored. I thought, that's it, they've won the league, brilliant. Can't wait. I'll see our players off and then, you know, go and congratulate Shah. I came back and I thought, oh, bloody hell, no way they've done it. I mean, what I will say first and foremost is obviously congratulations to you, Morgan. But obviously, I'm really pleased for Ben Brooks. You know, he's obviously had playoff heartbreak the last 2 seasons himself. First, bear in mind, people have to remember his first ever year at this level. And, you know, he started in that game as well, which, you know, again, like, you know, he looked like a proud dad when you see him out there. And
he probably had to bide his time this year, because at the start of the year, like Tyree Sinclair got time at left wing back, then Alex Newby got time at left wing back. He's probably had to bide his time. He spent a lot of time on the bench at the start of the year, maybe getting a couple of minutes cameos at the end of games. And it was only in the second half of the season where Maynard started to trust him and said, we need that left-footed depth, because we had Kitchen behind him and then his left foot. Yeah. It was only in the second half of the season he really deserves kind of the patience that he's. It takes a lot as a young kid to move up north, obviously being based in the south, being at Maidstone and hashtag.
Sorry. Harsh.
Wow. To move to the other end of the country as a young lad, to then have to bide your time and kind of wait. Obviously, Hinchwood brought him in, and then Maynard didn't fit him in immediately. It's a long season, and he deserves it. And the entire squad do. Like, Greg Ollie wasn't able to walk or kick a ball a year ago and had one of the worst injuries you can ever have. And now he's just got promoted. There's a lot of players that have gone through a lot of struggle to get to this point. Joe Felix, and those bounce around at Torquay and Worthing, and a lot of players have come through some really tough things to get to this point. I'm just really proud of Stuart Maynard and the entire squad, because, again, Maynard, when he came in, I've seen the announcement tweet from when we announced Maynard, and everyone's like, no one was really that convinced by it. Gabriel Sutton, I think his name is, AFL analyst on Twitter, was very positive about it, but a lot of other people were like, that's sideways, including myself. People weren't too excited about Stuart Maynard replacing Adam Hinchwood. Stuart Maynard's done an absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah, and I have to say, I've listened to both managers' interviews, and I think Stuart Maynard, showing pure sportsmanship, going saying, look, and the biggest justice in football would be Rochdale win the playoffs, because, we can look at Carlisle got 95 points, Boreham would have got 90 points, Rochdale finished 106 points and still finished 2 points off the top. It's, if there's any justice in the world, Rochdale will win these playoffs comfortably, and they don't have to go through all the nerves of, similar to what they have done, on Saturday. But, look, I think, and even Jim McNulty, I would have understood that, emotions would have been really raw, because he's probably just gone from maybe the biggest moment of his career, to probably one of the lowest moments of his career. And he has got, it's no doubt about it, he has got a tough job in his hands this week to pick his players up again. But he knows, and then, to be honest, it's probably a good thing. At least the good thing is they have got a week to prepare, as in they haven't got to play an eliminator again. They haven't got to get their heads up that quickly. They've probably been giving themselves a couple of days, try and get over it, get we said, look, get whatever they need to get out of their system, and then they go again. That's the thing. I think if they can use that moment that they had when they scored, with Manny Desirue scoring, thinking, look, we need a moment like that again next Saturday or Sunday. We've got every chance of doing it again. And, if he pulls this off, he deserves a huge amount of credit, by the way, if he does it, because no team is going to go into these playoffs, just to roll over, because, you've got every case for every one of those to win the playoffs. But Rochdale, with any justice, they will do it. And obviously, look, I think I could probably speak for all of us and say we hope it's Rochdale to do it, because you've deserved to go up as joint champions. If only it worked like that. But I will have the full backing, I think, of you. So obviously maybe been a bit biased, but we have the full backing, for you guys to win the players. And there's no better way to do it than winning at Wembley. Like, you can win the league.
Get there first.
Get there first, but that is true. But if you could win at Wembley, I think that would be just as good, if not a better day than maybe what, maybe York City might find. Obviously, they might disagree with me on that. But winning at Wembley, is so special. Obviously, I've never had that experience. but you may well get to have that experience. I really hope they get that chance.
Thank you.
Well said, Ben. Yeah.
I will read out, obviously, the league table. It really does pain me to do it, but...
Do you want me to do it?
But no, you're all right. I've got through this far. I'm still here. I'm going to do it. So, top of the table, champions, and of course, promoted to the Football League. Well deserved as well from them. We do have York City on 108 points. Rochdale is second, 106 points. Carlisle are third on 95 points. And both of those teams have reached a semi-final of the playoffs. And then fourth place, we do have Boreham Wood on 90 points. Scunthorpe are fifth on 82 points. Southend are sixth on 81 points. And Forest Green Rovers, they are seventh on 81 points. That does make up the playoffs. And then in the relegation zone, of course, 21st, we have Brackley Town on 42 points. Morecambe are 22nd on 38 points. Braintree, they are 23rd on 36 points. And bottom of the National League, a Truro City on 34 points. But we are going to quickly talk about those playoffs. So tomorrow, we do have, obviously, Scunthorpe and Southend. The winner does progress to play Rochdale in that semi-final away at Rochdale. So I'm going to come to you first, Rob. Scunthorpe, Southend, what's your thoughts on this game?
Tighter than a tight thing. Most people seem to be going for Southend. I have a feeling it'll be a Desmond, a 2-2, and it will go to extra time. And it might very well go to penalties, but I think Southend, either in extra time or penalties, will win.
Ben?
I think just because they'll use what happened last year, I think it's probably got to be Southend. Again, tight game. I think probably 2-1 Southend. They'll use those bad experiences from last year, I think, to get them over at least into the semi-final this time, because they won't want that same pain that they suffered last year. And it has been a great effort from Scunthorpe, and they may well do it, but I just feel Southend have got that experience in this situation. So that's why I'm going to back them.
Morgan?
Southend 3-2. Not sure after 90 or 120 minutes, but high scoring game, Southend to do it.
Joe?
Yeah, I think Southend, their experience been there. Obviously, they'll be eager to bounce back after last year. So, yeah, I think it will be maybe Gus Scott Morris to pop up with a winner or certainly have a hand in it. I would back Southend to win that one.
I'm going to be honest, I cannot call this one. Like, part of me is going with Southend because I just feel like they've been absolutely fantastic recently. But obviously, rested players, as I mentioned, you've got players coming back from injury. But then on the opposite end as well, I just think Scunthorpe have had such a fantastic season this season. Oh.
Try not to think about it as to who, because this is the game that the winners of this come to you, don't they? Don't they? Yeah.
Oh, this is torture. Like I was saying to you guys, we've dropped points to both of these two this season. I still have that PTSD from the Southend game last season. I've got the PTSD from the Manny Disarue penalty against Scunthorpe. You know, when your head's just like West, but
do you not see it's going to happen again? It's going to be maybe it's going to be Scunthorpe. You're going to get a penalty, and this time Disarue is going to score it. He'll definitely kick it this time if he gets one.
No, I don't think he'll be on penalties at the moment. I'm pretty sure they said Luke Hannant's on penalties from now on. But do you know what? I'm going to go with Southend. I'm going to go with Southend to win that one.
5 of us, is it? Cue the Scunny win.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. And now, obviously, Boreham Wood, Forest Green. Joe, I'm going to start with you first. Boreham Wood or Forest Green?
Yeah, I think Forest Green have come into some good form. They seem to be scoring quite a few goals. Obviously, finished the season really, really well on that final day. But I just think Luke Garrard when you get into these situations. He's got that experience. He's very difficult in those one-off games where he makes his teams really difficult to play against. He's got the playoff king in Callum Reynolds there, who I don't know whether he'll play in the game, but will certainly be there around the place of his experience. And they got a couple of players there that are still there from the team that only just lost to Notts County a couple of years ago. So, yeah, I would tip Boreham Wood to frustrate Forest Green and get through in this one. I'm
going to go with Boreham Wood as well. I thought I'll have my pick before you lot now. But Morgan, who are you going for in this one?
I don't know why, but I'm leaning towards Green. I
really?
don't know why. Yeah, I've said nothing complimentary about them all season. But I don't know. Christian Doyle, I think he's about to retire or at least leave. Ricardo Reese is back fit. I think they might do it on, you know what? I'll say Forest Green on penalties.
Interesting. Ben?
Boreham Wood, I think that they've got the best home record outside of York and Rochdale. They've been, like says, I think as Joe's alluded to, they have been experiencing these situations before. Luke Garrard's been involved in the playoffs before, even his time in Boreham Wood, so he knows how to handle the occasion. They won't go down that fight. That's not to say obviously that Forest Green won't give it a good go, because it really does depend what Forest Green side turns up in the night. They've been so inconsistent, but I see Boreham Wood probably doing it 2-0. Matt Rush to at least get one of them, to add to his, I think it's 33 goals this season. So I think it'd be them to go to Carlisle next weekend.
Rob?
Well, I think the biggest compliment I can pay Forest Green and Robbie Savage is that if you'd have asked me 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, I would have just said Boreham Wood straight up.
Yeah.
I still think Boreham Wood will prevail, but I think it could be a really, really tight game now. Forest Green have really grown into this season. I think they've really had some momentum across the latter stages. I saw them absolutely brilliant in the first half against Aldershot. We also managed to pin them back for the entire second half and probably should have come away with something. But they seem to have a bit more fluidity and togetherness than I thought they had. And so they'll provide that they will be really difficult opponents for Boreham Wood. But for all the reasons the other guys have said, in this first of potentially 3 games for Boreham Wood, I do fancy them to prevail. Just for all the reasons already highlighted. I won't repeat them. God willing, I'll be there to see it as well, because it's, of all the playoff games, it's one of the nearest for me, and I've got a bit of a history going to Boreham Wood and seeing playoff games, and the 2 previous ones I've been to, they've won against Dorking last year, 3-1 down with 8 minutes to go, and won 4-3. One of the more bonkers games. I also saw them prevail against Halifax, I think it was. When Pete Wild was manager of Halifax. That's about 4 or 5 years ago now. So, for those extra reasons that other people won't factor in, Boreham Wood at home, playoff eliminator. Yeah.
Nice. We shall see. But of course, that is the end of the show. It's been a long one. And I just wanted to say as well to everyone in the chat, with your kind comments about the DAZN appearance, the kind comments about me appearing tonight, it wouldn't have been any different, honestly. No matter what would have happened, I would have been here. You cannot get rid of me that easily. But of course, we are in collaboration with a fantastic NL Full-Time. So thank you so much, Joe. Thank you so much, Rob. Rob, where can everybody find, first and foremost, NL Full-Time socials, where they can listen to the podcast as well? I've not listened to it yet, but I will be listening to it tomorrow. And, of course, your own socials.
Yeah, at RobShot66, and NL Full-Time is at NL Full-Time, and any podcast platform, you can find our pod there. I think it's one of our better ones of the season. Joe pulled off an absolute blinder by getting Craig Marn on. So we had one of the National League the National League North winning manager on. Trevor Nell very kindly had a word with Adam Hinchelwood, so that's on there as well. And very cheekily, I've included on there, I don't know if anybody in our panel or our viewers have heard it, but the commentary or the guy reporting for BBC Radio 5 Live from the Crown Oil Arena, his reports into 5 Live with Mark Chapman. We actually got the audio from that on there. If you haven't heard it, have a listen, because it was absolutely brilliant. And Mark, I love Chappers. I love Mark Chapman. I think he's brilliant at his job. And hearing a reporter virtually screaming in the background, you could have forgiven him for fading that out or talking over it, but he didn't. He let the guy have his moment, his 2 moments inside a few minutes, and I thought that was brilliant. So as well as wrapping up all the actions we've done tonight with Dickie and Trev, and Joe and myself.
And of course, Joe, thank you so much for coming on as well, because I know you have a lot of stuff to do. You've got a lot of things to write up as well. So I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you for giving up your time to come on. But where can everybody find your fantastic work on the socials?
Yeah, no worries. Off the Line blog on Twitter. It's going to be a late one again. But I got 4 pieces up tomorrow after the 4 today that we kicked off with. So, get over and have a read. There'll be something for, I know there will be at least something for every team, because every team will have a piece. So.
Love that. Definitely check it out, everyone in the chat. Of course, Ben, thank you so much for coming on too, because it must have been hard with the final day for you. But where can everybody find yourself? And obviously TikTok as well, because you're a TikTok sensation.
I don't know about TikTok sensation, but
don't you be giving me that one.
No,
TikTok famous, that one.
We're going to try and get it back up there, but it's Ben Stones FC1 on Twitter. And if you want to find my TikTok, it's Ben_1GK. Hopefully we'll get some content out, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks or so, and I'll start getting a bit more training and a bit more, maybe we can get some games in. But that's where you want to find me. Where can everyone find you, Shah, though?
I'll do Morgan first, though.
Sorry, God. Ignore me, Morgan, sorry.
No, if you are ready for next season, Morgan. He's packed you up. Morgan, I'll ask you first. Where can everybody find you as well, apart from not in the National League anymore?
You can find me at every League 2 away ground next season. No, at _Morgan_Bruce, where I'm celebrating the title, and with a beautiful photo of me and Hiram Boateng.
Love that. If anybody does want to follow me, I am SharXREFC. That is on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, my own YouTube channel as well. I will be doing a little bit more on that. It's just been really, really busy the last few weeks, but it's Ball and All with Shar on YouTube, and still Ball and All with Shar _ on all of the socials I did mention. But of course, the most important ones. So we are the Absolute Football Podcast, and we do have 4 live shows a week. On Twitter, we are Absolute Ball Pod. YouTube and Twitch, we are Absolute Football Podcast. On TikTok, we are Absolute Football Pod. Instagram, Absolute Football Podcast _ Blue Sky, Absolute Football. And on Facebook, we are the Absolute Football Podcast. As mentioned, as you all have watched us tonight, we are live on a Monday, 8:30, in collaboration with a fantastic NL Full Time, and we talk all things non-league football, National League North, National League South. We've got an FA Trophy final as well coming soon, and we will be bringing you, obviously, playoff action as it happens too. Absolutely Premier League with Sam and the team. Sorry, everybody, I am on that tomorrow evening. I think it's myself, Sam and Grimmy. They are doing a Champions League watch-along for the PSG Bayern Munich game. I will have that game on, but I'll also be doing a watch-along for the playoffs. The playoffs are non-league playoffs. So if you are interested in that, I will be watching the Southend Scunthorpe game, as well as keeping tabs on the National League North, National League South playoff game too. So definitely come in for that. If you're not going to the game on a Wednesday, it's absolutely women's football with Freya, Paul and the rest of Team Chaos. They do have as well out on, I think it was Sunday it went out. They do have a special interview. So please, please, please go and check that out as well. It's a fantastic watch. And of course, I am back on Thursday. Morgan, you shall be on this show next season. I cannot wait for you to meet Claire, by the way. Cannot wait for that to happen. But absolutely, I know, absolutely EFL show. We cover Championship, League One, League Two. So please, please, please do give that a watch. Just really quickly as well before we go, I know Sam has mentioned the merchandise. Bear with me a minute. Where is it? Where's the tweet? Where's the tweet? But that is the tweet. That is the link. We do have some cups at the moment. We're planning on bringing out some more merchandise in future weeks. But yeah, if you do want a mug, go and check it out. Go and check it out. But but last but not least, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has stayed tuned. It's been a long one tonight. Thank you guys for joining me and talking all things non-league football. Hope you all have a fantastic week and we will see you next Monday. Bye, everyone.